Hey everyone, thanks so much for stopping by. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Now, sit back, relax, and enjoy.
The death of Ace breaks more than just the world. It breaks fate itself. Thrown into the One Piece universe 10 years before canon, a grieving outsider meets a young Monkey D. Luffy and makes a single decision. This time, Ace will not die. As Luffy's journey begins far earlier than it should, the future slowly unravels, bringing Sabo back into the picture, exposing hidden truths like the mysterious A-Clan, and forcing the brothers to face a destiny that was never meant to change. With friendship, sacrifice, and defiance against fate at its core, this rewritten timeline becomes a battle not just against enemies, but against the future itself. Disclaimer: this story do not belong to me. The author is The Chronicle by ThiefofStealth. Respect to author.
Chapter 36. How is she, Nami? Well, considering her high fever, I think we must find a doctor right away. But Vivi's country will. What should we do, Nami-san, Vivi-chan? Is Eri-chan going to die? Relax, Sanji-kun, we'll find a way soon. I panted as I heard the people around me talking things, which unfortunately also hurting my head. I opened my eyes slowly and saw worried faces of my nakamas. Man, this is ridiculous. A few moments ago, we're finally going to Alabasta, right, Vivi-chan? I asked softly and slid down on the wooden floor as I felt tired all of a sudden. Yes, finally, she replied with a smile as she looks forward to the sea, not minding about the boys that cheering about the Giants' performance. You boys sure do energetic, Nami sighed as she watched the boys and shook her head. But let's just hope there will be nothing happening to us on the way to Alabasta. I grinned weakly. Vivi nodded, yes, and I will definitely go back there. Because I'm the only one who can free my country. She said, I have to live and return to Alabasta. She continued grimly. Try to relax, Vivi-chan. I heard Sanji-san said as he approaching us, you can always count on me. He exclaimed as he pointed his thumb at himself and offered us a plate of snacks. Just take a good rest and try my food. Do you want coffee or tea? He asked. It looks good. Luffy exclaimed as he saw the snacks on the plate and drooled heavily, along with Usopp. It looks delicious. Usopp exclaimed. Your portions are in the kitchen. Sanji-san replied. Wow, great. They replied as they swarmed away to the kitchen. I felt a little bit dizzy and my body temperature was starting to increase. I was panting and starting to sweat a lot. I managed to stand up and walk toward the women's quarter slowly as I tried my best to stand properly without trembling. But unfortunately, my legs couldn't manage to hold my weight and I fell flat onto the wooden floor as I blacked out completely. Flashback over. And now here I am, lying down on the bed, doing nothing. Maybe it's because of the weather. No matter how strong they are, considering Grand Line's weathers are unpredictable. I heard Vivi said, but Eri has gone to Grand Line years ago, and she said she was completely fine. This time it's Luffy. But that doesn't change the fact that she's sick now, right? Well, bullseye for Luffy as he stopped arguing with Vivi. 40 degrees Celsius. I heard Nami exclaimed in shock as she took out the thermometer from my mouth. Her fever is getting worse. She added, what? So Eri is going to die? Luffy exclaimed in shock, as the other two also shocked hearing Luffy's exclamations. Eri-kwan, please don't die. Sanji-san exclaimed as he sobbed while Usopp and Karu were running back and forth as they screaming. Would you guys calm down and shut up? Nami exclaimed and punched them in the head one by one hard. We have to hurry and find a doctor to cure Eri. Luffy said, we know. But you'd better calm down. Vivi told him, the loud noise can make her get worse. No, we can't stop, I said weakly as I panted and sat up, much to the others' worry. If we wait any longer, there will be a civil war in Alabasta soon. I continued and turned to Nami. Nami, give her the paper now. I told her, she needs to know. Nami nodded and walked toward the drawer and took a newspaper before gave it to Vivi. She read it and her expression changed into full of dread and she widened her eyes. How could this thing happen? 300.000 royal troops have switched sides and joined the rebel side. Vivi said in shock, there used to be 600.000 royal troops and 400.000 rebellions. This is totally opposite. We got that newspaper 3 days ago. Sorry, we didn't show you because there is no way to take our ship go any faster. That's why I hid it. We just didn't want to worry you. Nami said. Besides, we better head to Alabasta fast. I told them and grinned weakly, Vivi-chan's country is far important matter. I just got a fever, that's all. I'll be fine in few days, don't worry about me. I continued before turning to Nami. Nami, are you sure leaving Zoro is the one that watching the ship? I don't think it was a great idea, I told her, which made her realize it and ran toward the deck. But you have to see a doctor soon. Are you sure you only got a normal fever? Usopp asked in concern. I nodded and lay down on the bed as I covered myself with the blanket. It's alright. I'll be fine, as long we go to Alabasta fast, I'll be fine. I reassured them, now shush, hurry and get out the room. Let me rest so I could get better soon and we'll kick that Wani's ass and his agents down. I told them as I shooed them out from the room, which earning everyone but Luffy, Flame and Takao to get out from the room. They didn't say anything as I rested myself and I heard them shuffle down, probably sat down next to the bed and started putting a hand on my forehead, despite it's hot as hell, I suppose. Ouch. Hot. I think we'd better stop and find a doctor for you, Eri. Luffy exclaimed as he pulled his hand back. I'll be fine, Luani-san. I said weakly as I called him with a nickname I made 2 years ago. He didn't reply but put his hand back on my scalp and brushing off my bangs away gently. Get well soon, I heard him said and I smiled weakly at him as I put my hand on his hand. I will. XXX. Everyone, I would like to ask all of you for a favor. Vivi announced to the rest of the crew, maybe it's not right to say this since you are kind enough to bring me back to my country. But my country is now in great danger, and I want to go back there as soon as possible. She continued, I can't waste even a second. So, from now on, I would like everyone to head to Alabasta with the fastest speed. She paused for a moment while everyone was looking at her with a look, so, let's start finding a doctor and cure Eri-chan as soon as possible then head to Alabasta. When Eri-chan is cured, we can go with the fastest speed, right? She said confidently, resulting the straw hats that looked all tense at first began to relax and smiled, especially Luffy. That's right, there is nothing that can make this ship faster than with healthy Eri. Luffy said as he grinned. Are you sure? You should worry about your people because you're the princess. Usopp said. It's true. That's why we have to cure Eri-chan as soon as we can. Vivi replied. Well, that was one great answer, Vivi. Nami praised her, because even if we go to Alabasta with fastest speed, Luffy will get worried about his sister even more if she got worse. Very good, Vivi-chan. Your words make me fall in love with you all over again. Sanji said with a grin. You are brave, Zoro complimented with a smile. Whoa, what's that? Luffy suddenly exclaimed as he pointed at the direction where the ship is heading just then and taking everyone's attentions. It's a cyclone. It's so huge. Wait a minute, that was the direction that we were heading to. We'll be dead if we get close to that thing. We were so close. Nami-san, you're so great. They said that Grand Line's cyclone is the storm that you can't predict, but you could predict in a moment. Vivi exclaimed in awe while Nami grinned. Well, I'm the best navigator in the world after all. She said before she felt something nudged her leg and looked down, only seeing Flame with a rolled paper in his mouth and was offered to her. What's this, Flame? She asked as she took it and rolled it open, which revealed as a map of an island. She looked up at the corner of the map and saw 2 words there. Drum Island. Drum Island. Nami echoed, is this an island where there will be doctor there? She asked Flame, who only shrugged and walked back to the women's quarter. She was just sweat dropped and sighed before turning back to the boys. Everyone, let's hurry up. We will be heading south and find a doctor. Nami exclaimed. Yeah, XXX. I woke up right in the middle of night as I was feeling thirsty. I looked around slowly and saw everyone was in the room, sleeping soundly while both Luffy and Vivi were sleeping right on the bedside. I smiled weakly and coughed softly, which woke Luffy up in the process. Did I wake you up? I asked weakly as I saw him sat up and rubbing his eyes sleepily. No, he replied and yawned. Do you need something? He asked sleepily, as his eyes were still shut. A glass of water would be great. I replied softly. He nodded and walked out from the quarter slowly as he tripped over his own feet and stumbled down, only he didn't fell flat on the floor, fortunately. I just smiled weakly at it and turned to Vivi, who was sleeping soundlessly. Vivi-chan, I said and put my hand on her head as I stroked her hair softly so I won't wake her up. You've done enough, I added and smiled weakly. Then I heard footsteps and saw it was Luffy's, as he walked down the stairs and approaching me with a glass of water in his hand. He offered it to me and I saw his eyes were shut tight, which making me giggled softly and took the glass from his hand. I drank it slowly and gave it back to Luffy as I finished and he put the glass on the desk near the bed before sat down beside Vivi and fell asleep again as he put his head back to the bedside. I smiled and put a hand on his head as I stroked his jet black hair gently. I giggled weakly as I heard him sleep talking about meat before I decided to sleep again. XXX. There is an island ahead of us. Island. Luffy exclaimed in excitement before turning to his sleeping sister. We're lucky, Eri. They said that they saw an island. You will be better soon. He told her, which of course didn't get any reply as she's sleeping deeply. As he heard and told his sister about the island, he was twitching wildly and moving a lot, which making his companion in the room, sweat dropped at the sight. If you want to see it that much, just go. Zoro told his enthusiastic captain, which was accepted happily by the captain and he ran out from the room to the deck. Luffy, Eri called softly, but she appeared to be sleep-talking, as her eyes were still shut tight. Zoro glanced at her while didn't move from his spot, waiting for her to finish her words. Don't attack them, she continued, don't attack any of them, Minna, she grunted before coughing and turned to her side, curling under the thick blanket. Zoro, who heard it clearly, just stared blankly at her before he walked to her and gently stroked her head. Then he walked upstairs to deliver the others her message, whatever she meant by that, he'll tell the others about it. XXX. I woke up suddenly as I heard gunshot. I sat up quickly and walked out of bed, only stumbled and almost fell flat to the floor right on the face if I didn't grab onto the desk. I panted as my sights got hazy and I walked toward the stairs and walked upstairs. As I right on the storage deck, I heard shouting and another gunshot. I opened the door and trembled and cold as the cold weather attacked me into the bones. Stop it! I yelled loudly as I could and coughed loudly, which taking everyone's attentions, and Luffy ran up to me after he called my name and then he wore off his winter coat before wearing it on me, as I kept coughing and fell on my knees. What are you doing here, Eri? You're still sick, Luffy exclaimed as he put his straw hat on my head to cover my head and carried me bridal style. I panted and coughed lightly. Don't fight them, I told him as I rested my head on his shoulder. They're just scared, don't fight them, I coughed as I paused before continued, please. He didn't say anything but he turned toward the townspeople, I suppose, before he fell on his knees gently and looked at the townspeople. I'm sorry. It's my fault, he said clearly and bowed lowly but not too low to them while he still managed to carry me bridal style. Please call a doctor. Please help my Imouto, he finally said, which making the townspeople were stunned and thinking about it. It was so silent that you could hear a pin drop until my cough broke the silence. I will show you the way to our village. The leader, I suppose, said, just follow us. He finished. I smiled weakly as I started to tremble in cold and my teeth were clattering like mad, which making Luffy to start panicking again and quickly ran toward the women's quarter. He put me down gently as he covered me with the thick blanket. Vivi and Nami ran in also as they helped Luffy up by helping me to put my own winter coat after putting on my sweaters, long and thick trousers, mittens, boots, scarves around my neck and my mouth, muzzle, earmuffs, and 2 beanies on my head. Then Luffy carried me piggyback and walked out from the room as I started to drift off to sleep again. XXX. Hey Eri. What the hell are you doing? I opened my eyes slowly as I felt something was slapping my cheek lightly and I saw Luffy's dark owlish eyes. If we don't go to the mountain, we can't see the doctor. He said, let's go hiking. He finished before everyone there, aka the Straw Hats, were yelling at him and talking things.
Yo, quick pause, smash that like button, hit subscribe if you're new here, share this video, and tell me in the comments which part you're loving the most.
I just heard them talking gibberish and I laughed weakly and brought up my right hand. I'll leave it to you now, Sencho ni, I said softly with muffled voice as I smiled weakly. That's right, just trust me, Luffy replied as he slapped my hand as an agreement before I drifted off to sleep again. XXX. I can't believe this. Both brother and sister are out of their minds. Nami exclaimed in frustration. Are you sure, Eri-chan? Sanji asked to Eri, who was already fell asleep again, so it's pointless to ask her. Asen, can you get me some meat? Luffy asked. Meat? Dalton echoed back, dumbfounded. Are you sure, Eri-chan? It's very far from here. Vivi said in concern. Okay, I will go with you. Sanji said, totally sure about it. Just remember this. If you fall down even one time, Eri will die. Usopp warned Luffy. I know. Just leave it to me. Luffy replied as he carried his sister in piggyback with a sheathed sword to prevent her from slipping, and Vivi helped Luffy to tie Eri to his body tightly so she won't slip down. He walked outside the house and started warming up by running in place slowly. Alright, I will wait for you here. I don't want you to worry about me if I go with you. Vivi said. Me too. Usopp said. Just make sure to be careful and make sure Eri is staying warm. She won't last long in this harsh cold. Nami told Luffy. I get it. Eri, just hang on to me, okay? Luffy asked, and surprisingly, Eri answered him with a hum. I don't think that I can stop you now. But may I suggest that you should go to the opposite side because this route is full of Lapon. It's a meat-eating rabbit, which is very powerful. If you meet a group of them, you can't survive. Dalton told Luffy and Sanji, who looked at each other. Rabbit, but we're in a hurry, just don't worry about that. Luffy replied. It's up to you. If they really come, I will kick their butts. Sanji replied. Don't. They heard Eri said in muffled voice, don't attack any of them, they'll attack back, in groups, she told them. What she says is right. Dalton told them, just don't attack any of them at any cost if you want to survive. Then, let's go, Sanji. Luffy exclaimed and ran toward the supposed to be mountain. Yeah, he replied as he ran, followed Luffy up, leaving the other four, Vivi, Usopp, Nami and Dalton, right at the village. Will they be alright? Dalton asked. Don't worry, they'll be fine, Usopp replied. Let's just hope Eri can make it. Nami said. I wish all of them luck. Vivi said. They kept there as the snow was falling down until Dalton called them into his house. It's all right, I want to stay out here. Vivi replied as she tried to warm herself. Me too. Usopp replied. Same here, Nami said. Dalton smiled at it. Really? He asked and sat down beside them. Why don't I stay with you, then? He said and turned toward where the other two boys go. Actually, there used to be many doctors in this town. He said. But for some reasons, all the doctors are gone. He continued. About 2 to 3 months ago, this country was destroyed by a group of pirates. Destroyed? So that's why you were mean to us? Vivi said, finally understood. Yes, everyone still remembers how cruel those pirates were. Dalton confirmed, there were only 5 pirates in that group. Their captain was known as Kurohige*. Our country was destroyed within a short period of time. Are you serious? Your country was destroyed by only 5 pirates? Nami asked in disbelief. Kurohige. However, some people say that it turned out to be good. Dalton said. Good. What is so good about your country being destroyed? Vivi asked in disbelief. That's right. Nami agreed. Is that really true? Usopp asked. Dalton looked hesitant about telling them, but he said, it's all because the government was very cruel to the people. This country used to be known as the Drum Kingdom, and the king's name was King Wapol. He was a very bad king. The trios were surprised hearing the word Wapol before finally realizing who the person is, which is a person that almost ate their ship down and has a big mouth, who apparently the former king of the kingdom that used to be Drum Kingdom. Wapol. XXX. It's getting colder. Luffy stated as he realized that the snow was falling more frequent and heavily but kept running fast but gently while carrying his sister. Then why don't you wear something more? Even though I wear all these clothes, I still feel the cold in my bones. Sanji replied. That is one of my policy. Luffy replied. Policy. It's policy. Sanji corrected him. Yeah, that. Luffy then glanced from his shoulder to his sister's red face. I hope Eri is still feeling warm. He hoped before turning to Sanji. By the way, do you know that the people who live in this kind of cold place don't sleep? Huh, why? Sanji asked. Because if they sleep, they will die. Luffy answered easily. Are you mad? How can they live if they don't sleep? Sanji asked back, as if he's crazy and totally didn't realize, or he is but ignored it, about a small rabbit leapt up to attack him, which easily dodged by Sanji. But it's true. That's what I heard. Luffy stubbornly stated, also didn't realize or ignored the small rabbit that tried to attack Sanji. From Usopp. The cook asked. No, from Eri. Luffy stated. Flashback. Say Luffy, do you know why people don't sleep in cold places? Why? Because they will die in their sleep because of the sudden dropped temperature, so usually their bodies were frozen to their bones and they were died when they asleep. What? Flashback ends. Really? As expected from Eri-chan that always talking things darkly with poker face, Sanji said as he sweat dropped. Then why does Dalton have a bed in his house? He asked, dodging another attack from the small rabbit. That's easy. He just prepares it for the time that he dies. Luffy replied back. How can that be possible? Sanji asked as he sweat dropped. Have you heard about this? The girl in the winter town will have very smooth skin. Why? Luffy asked as he jumped over a tree that suddenly fell over their path. You shouldn't ask. Sanji replied as he jumped over the tree also, because when it's cold, everyone will rub their body to make themselves warm, right? That's why her skin is smooth. If a girl has smooth skin, she must come from the winter town. Sanji finished dreamily as he dodged over the attacks from the small rabbit that's slightly similar to Wawa Bunny of some game online mascot, except it didn't brought a cleaver everywhere. Then why is their skin white? Luffy asked as he also dodged the infinite attacks from the rabbit. Because their skins were absorbed the color of snow. Sanji answered as the smoke of his cancer stick turned into heart shapes. You're out of your mind. Luffy replied as he leapt out as the rabbit about to attack him. Hey, don't call me that. Sanji yelled. By the way, he kicked away the rabbit that near his foot far as he exclaimed, how long will this stupid rabbit following us? Yeah, I wonder what's wrong with him. Luffy stated as he looked at the said rabbit flew away from him before they continued their journey to finding a doctor, which usually called as, witch, by the people here. It's snowing pretty heavy around here. Luffy stated as he started walking way faster than before but still slowly enough so the moves won't disturbing his sister, that's still sleeping soundlessly. Yeah, I hope Eri-chan won't get cold. Sanji said and they stopped as they saw herds of rabbit with bare bodies are right in front of them. What the hell are they? The cook asked. Giant creatures with white fur, they must be polar bears. Luffy stated with his infamous, Luffy logic. Then the Lapon with a scar on the side of its face leapt up and about to ATTCK the boys, only quickly get dodged by them. Are you kidding? Why are they so fast? Are they gorillas or what? Sanji exclaimed as he dodged the attack. No, they're polar bears. Luffy replied formally. They're rabbits. Sanji yelled at him. But didn't you say that they're gorillas? The idiotic captain asked dumbly. Those must be Lapons that Dalton was talking about. Sanji said as the rest of the Lapons behind the first row of them were starting to walk forward, revealing there are more of them behind. They have small legs, but I've never thought that they will move so fast, maybe because they are mountain animals. We can't get through them easily. Sanji said as he watched him before brought up a hand to Luffy. Luffy, listen, don't fight them, he told him. If you fight or got hit by them, you will get the same force which will affect Eri-chan too. He said in worried tone, and if that really happened, Eri-chan will die for sure. He finished at the same time as the Lapon roared loudly. I get it, I won't fight them. Luffy replied softly as he got worried about his sister condition, which actually got worse as he felt her teeth were clattering lowly, meaning the cold has gotten into her. Then what should I do? He asked as he dodged the attack from the Lapon. Just escape. Run, Sanji told him, and don't be delayed. That's easy to say, but hard to do. Luffy yelled at him, shark-teethed, as Sanji kicked the Lapon away, which apparently pissed the rest of the Lapons up and they leapt up to attack the boys, making them ran away quickly in panic. We have to lose them. It would take the whole night if I want to get rid all of them. Sanji exclaimed as both of them ran into the forest and dodged the attacks. One of them almost got Luffy and Eri, and Luffy was about to kick it away, only the sudden move was making Eri grunted and Sanji stopped Luffy's leg as he kicked the Lapon away. Damn it, I told you to just leave all the fighting to me. Sanji told Luffy. Sorry, I forgot. Luffy replied as he continued to run. Think about your little sister's condition, you stupid rubber brain. Sanji yelled at him as they kept running and dodging all the attacks they could, and sometimes Sanji kicked them away. Then Luffy saw a cliff near them and told Sanji about it, who told him to go first as he kicked away the Lapons. Luffy was using one of the Lapons as a stepping stone to the cliff and landed softly on the ground. Sanji was following right after Luffy and apparently, the Lapons were also following them up as they ran away. They're coming again, Sanji yelled as they ran. Let's run to the top of the mountain. Luffy said and they kept running until they realized that the Lapons were stopped chasing them and now were jumping up and down occasionally. What are they doing? Luffy asked as he repaired Eri's position on his back. I thought that they were tired of chasing us, but they're doing something. Sanji replied as they kept watching them until he realized something and looked up. Wait, a minute, he widened his eyes as his cigarette fell off from his mouth. Don't tell me. They must be joking. Those stupid rabbits are dragging us into big trouble. Sanji said as he paled and started sweating a lot, despite it's cold as hell. What is it, Sanji? Luffy asked, totally oblivious about the danger that coming. Let's get out of here, Luffy. Sanji yelled as he turned back. Out of here? But where? Luffy asked. Anywhere. As long as it's far away from here. Sanji replied as Luffy followed his action. An avalanche is coming at us. Sanji yelled and ran away from there, which quickly followed by Luffy and they yelled in fear as the avalanche was coming at them, swallowing everything in its way. I swear that next time I see those rabbits, I will grill them with my own hands. Sanji exclaimed as both of them ran fast. What are we gonna do, Sanji? Luffy asked as he panicked. How should I know? The only thing I know is first, we must protect Eri-chan. Second, third, fourth, or even fifth, we must protect Eri-chan with our own lives. Sanji stated. I know, but how can we protect her? Luffy asked. I never had any experience in this kind of thing. There, can you see that cliff? Sanji pointed at the said cliff and continued, let's run there. As long as we stay there, we should be fine. They turned toward the cliff and ran as fast as they could as the avalanche is getting closer to them and they finally arrived at the cliff. But unfortunately, the cliff is not high enough to protect them from the avalanche and the avalanche is knocking them away from the cliff. Ah, we will be covered with snow. Right, Luffy is in the air, he muttered about what should they do and he got an idea. He grabbed the tree that has been knocked down by the avalanches using it as a surfboard. He grabbed Sanji up to the tree as they're going down the mountain. We are safe, but we are going down the mountain. Luffy yelled. Are you kidding me? Sanji spat, we've spent hours trying to climb this mountain. We were so close to the top. Can you find any way to stop this? Damn those rabbits. I swear that I will put them in the hot pot next time. He cursed, and unbeknownst to them yet, the Lapons were still chasing them, this time in surfboard mode, much to the boys' shocks. Huh, what the? Right, the Lapons were about to attack them, they slid away from their reach and they managed to dodge all the attack, but unfortunately, the shock was got to Eri as she groaned at the sudden movement while her teeth were starting to clatter wildly, indicating the cold was starting to get her more than before and that's a bad thing. Look out, Luffy. Sanji yelled as he saw what's in front of them, which a rock with some sharp stumps on them. A rock? We're gonna hit it, Luffy exclaimed. But you're carrying Eri-chan. It's gonna hurt her too. Sanji replied before he threw Luffy away, much to the captain's shock. Sanji grinned and said, a man should be gentle to a lady. Before he crashed into the rock and the sharp stumps that hurting him in the process as he fell into the moving snow, sacrificing himself for the siblings. Sanjii. Luffy quickly grabbed onto the rock while the Lapons and Sanji were swept away by the snow. He yelled at Sanji because of that and about to grab his hand, but only got his mitten instead, much to Luffy's dismay and shouted for him. Luffy quickly put Eri down and took off his winter coat and straw hat as he put the coat on Eri and he started to get more worried as he saw her trembled and cold and her teeth were clattering madly. Hang in there, Eri. Just hang onto my hat for me, I will be right back," he exclaimed before he dives into the moving snow to retrieve Sanji. After a while and the avalanche is finally over, Luffy got back with Sanji in his hands and walked back toward where Eri is. He saw that Eri is starting to get worse, not because of her sickness but because of the cold. He quickly put Sanji beside Eri as he tied Eri back on him and piggyback her after he put on his straw hat. He grabbed onto Sanji and they started walking up to the mountain. On their way, Luffy found the small rabbit that tried attacking them before was digging onto the snow with a big paw sticking out of the snow. The small rabbit apparently felt Luffy and was protecting the big paw from Luffy, who was just staring at it blankly. The baby Lapon growled as it saw Luffy and Luffy reached up to it, which making it trembled in fear. But Luffy grabbed the big paw and brought it up, revealing the big paw as belonged to the parent of the baby Lapon, who is now squealing in happiness and hugged its parent while the parent was looking at Luffy as he walked away from there to the mountain. "I will take you there," Luffy said softly, "then don't die, both of you." He finished. But apparently, he got a company or two that ran toward him. "Look, Wapple-sama, let's kill them." The said company was revealed as Wapple and his two minions, Chess and Kuromarimo. The hippo ran toward him and stopped right in front of Luffy, blocking the way to the mountain. "Wait, you've been disrespected me too many times, you little brat," Wapple said menacingly. "Get out of the way," Luffy replied firmly. "Are you dreaming? Ha 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 ha, why do I have to let you go?" Wapple asked mockingly, "Those things that you are carrying are about to die anyway." He continued, which making Luffy slightly narrowed his eyes before walked past them by walking right through beside them. "Hey, stop," Wapple yelled before turning to a man with outfit like a jester. "I've come up with a new law. Write it, Chess," he said. "Yes sir," Chess replied. "Whoever turns his back on the king shall suffer death," he said. "Now, go and kill all of them whether they are weak or not," he ordered. "Yes, my lord," both of his minions replied as they jumped toward Luffy, about to attack him. "What the?" Luffy muttered as he slightly ticked off by that statement, and the Kuromarimo guy was attacked him with iron gloves of his, which hurting Luffy a bit as it scratched Luffy. "Damn it," Luffy cursed and about to attack back, but he remembered what Sanji said to him in his sister condition. He gritted his teeth in frustration before ran forward again. "Damn it, I can't fight them. I'll remember this," he exclaimed as he ran, and the chess guy was shooting arrows at him right at the back, which where Eri is. Luffy quickly jumped up, dodging the arrows and kept running from there until he realized that Wapple and his minions were gone. "Where did they go?" he asked as he kept running, not looking at the front. "That is weird. Did they give up?" he wondered as he still doesn't realize there's a big mouth right in front of him, and he quickly jumped up as he did, which revealed as Wapple's big mouth. And as he's in the air, the two minions leapt out from the snow, each of them is preparing an attack to Luffy, which making Luffy screamed about it. But before the attacks got him and the other two that in his care, two Lapons leapt out and punched away the two minions, which slightly amazed Luffy up. "Polar bear," he muttered, and he landed on the snow softly. While the enemies were surprised about the fact that Lapons were protecting Luffy, the Lapon that saved by Luffy glanced at him, as if telling him to go and leave everything to them. "Thank you for helping me." Luffy thanked them as he ran toward the mountain, leaving the enemies behind to the Lapons. He kept running until the snow was falling heavily and he started walking. He kept chanting, "Doctor," as he walked. His whole body was starting to tint red, stating that the cold already affect him so bad, aka hypothermia. He stopped as he was right in front of the mountain. He tightened the tying on his abdomen that preventing his sister body from neither falling nor slipping down from his body, and took off his sandals as he bit Sanji's coat before he told those two to hang in there in their clothes. He started climbing up the mountain with his current state as he kept chanting, "Doctor," silently. This kept going until 3 hours straight, and the wind around the mountain was blowing at him, which making the rubber team trembled in cold and stopped for a moment before continued to climb. But unfortunately, his fingers scraped up to the mountain's surface and starting to bleed. And because of it, he screamed out in hurt and releasing Sanji from his grip of his bite in the process, which making him shouted for Sanji and quickly grabbed Sanji again with his teeth as he stretched out his head to grab Sanji and stretched up back. He continued to climb to the top, not minding his now bleeding fingers because of frostbites and scraping the rough surface of the mountain. "I won't give up. I will reach the top soon." He kept going even his bleeding fingers were starting to get into him, but he not minding over them and kept climbing up as he almost reached the top of the mountain. After a while, he finally reached the top and put Sanji down to the snowing ground beside him as he stared at the castle in awe before he starting to pass out. And unfortunately, the snow where Luffy laid down is starting to slip off from the top of the mountain, and before he fell down, a big furred hand grabbed him, stopping him from falling. "XXX. Please hang in there, Usopp-san." Vivi breathed out as she pulled Usopp up by his long nose. "Would you stop bothering me, Vivi? I think I'm having I see a beautiful garden which I think doesn't exist in this world," Usopp said softly as his eyes only shows whites. "It means that you're about to go to heaven." Vivi yelled and started slapping Usopp's cheeks. "Wake up, Usopp-san. You can't sleep." "Ah," Usopp yelled out before started limping again. Usopp's pertays. "Kumi here." He breathed out, which making Vivi panicked even more. No, Usopp-san, you can't die here. Wake up, Usopp-san. Vivi yelled and started slapping him hard and kept doing that until the sniper finally woke up fully. Thank you for helping me, Vivi. Usopp said, but why do I have these bumps on my face? He asked as he analyzed his face, which is as big as a beehive and full of bumps. It's good that you're still alive. It's just frostbite, it must be hard to live here. Vivi replied as she walked forward, not minding the fact that it was practically her fault for Usopp's face. Anyway, we need to know where we are and Nami-san is now and how everyone is. She continued before stopped as she saw something was leaping out from the snow, which startling both of them before it revealed as Zoro that half naked. This is bad. It's cold and then there was an avalanche. I'm so unlucky. Anyway, I will think of this as a part of my training. Zoro said as he started to hug himself and finally noticed the other two, huh? Vivi. Then his eyes fell on Usopp, with beehive-sized face and slightly unrecognized by Zoro before his eyes fell on his nose. And Usopp. He finally said, what are you doing here? He asked. That should be our question. Both yelled at him in sync before a feather fell down right in front of Vivi who grabbed it and looked above, which revealed his Takao in his griffin form and he landed on the snowy ground with a familiar figure on his back. Nami-san. Are you alright Nami-san? Vivi asked in concern as she shook Nami up to wake her up. Nami groaned and finally woke up as she looked up to Vivi. What happened? She asked as she moaned in pain and sat up. Well, apparently, you almost got swept away by the avalanche. Takao answered, luckily I was looking for Zoro Dono right in the air before I found you running away from the avalanche. I quickly grabbed onto you and flew above until the avalanche was over. Zoro. She asked before turned and truly saw the moss head, half naked. What the hell are you doing here, half naked? She asked, slightly annoyed that the swordsman was half naked, in the middle of snowing of all time. Shut up. Zoro spat as they walked together forward, which apparently arrived at the Big Horn village where Dalton is. Apparently, Wapple's grunts were preventing the villagers to get Dalton's body. Then Zoro asked Usopp that their enemies are not and quickly attacked one of them after he got the answer, much to everyone's shock. He quickly took the coat and wore them, which angered the grunts. What kind of fools are they? Zoro asked as he sighed and smirked. XXX. Doctorine, the antibody is working. Yes. Can you tell me what caused this? Kescha. That's right. You saw it too. XXX. I woke up and opened my eyes slowly as I heard squeaky footsteps. I looked around and saw that I was in some sort of room in Victorian era as it's made of bricks. I groaned and sat up, which making the person there jumped back in surprise, which knocking down the chair behind him and the books on the bookshelf behind the person, which doesn't really look like a person. Antlers, red hat with crooked medical symbol, blue nose, hoofs, and brown furs. Yep, that's Chopper alright. Hello there. I started, which apparently scaring him and ran toward the doorway, and trying to hide but he hid in the opposite way, which making me sweat dropped at the sight. Actually, you're hiding on the wrong side, yeah, no. I told him, which making him realized and did the opposite from what he did before, making me sweat dropped at it. It's too late you know. I added and smiled weakly. It's okay, ask away you want to ask. I won't bite, I started before grinning evilly, hard. I finished which making him screamed in fear and I laughed happily at his antics. What are you doing, Chopper? I heard someone said and was an old and wrinkly woman but still with curvaceous body was walking toward me as she laughed, you are waking up. Are you feeling better, Komusum? She asked. You're Dr. Kurha aka Doctorine, I suppose. I assured as she put a finger on my forehead. 38.2 degrees Celsius. You're getting better, she announced and pulled up her shades. That's right, I am Dr. Kurha, you can call me Doctorine. She said. Is this the castle? It's pretty cool from inside. I said as I looked around. You want to know the secret of my youthfulness? She asked suddenly. Not really interested. I replied simply. By the way, where are the other two guys? I asked. They're sleeping in the room next door. They're snoring too loud. Didn't they learn any manner? She pointed out as she gulped down the rum in her hand. I don't think so, considering we're pirates. I replied and sighed in relief before Doctorine sat down next to me and pulled my right arm and pulled up the sleeve, which revealing some kind of bruises or something on the upper arm. This is the problem, she stated. You were bitten by the insect called Kescha. It's a poisonous insect that lives in tropical forests. When it bites someone, it will spread bacteria into that person's body. Within 5 days, that person will suffer from high fever. Later, it will affect the heart, brain, and every part of the body. Based on your wound, I guess this is the 3rd day after you were bitten. Its poison is very powerful. If you leave it without any medical treatment for another 2 days, you will definitely rest in peace. She informed me, which too long for my brain to process it in short amount of time. It used to be known as 5 days fever. However, Kescha have been extinct for 100 years. You're lucky that I still have some antibiotic. She told me, which easily get processed by my brain and my mouth was shaped in an O. Where did you come from anyway? Did you just go and take a walk in an ancient forest or something? But that sounds impossible. Actually, may I see my nakamas? I need to check on my brother's condition, I said before got pushed onto the bed by Doctorine. You're still not completely cured, go to sleep. She said. No way, I'm tired of sleeping. Besides, we're kind of in a hurry so no thanks. I replied and sat up, which making the creepy doctor almost stabbed me with a scalpel if I didn't lay down back on the bed. Now, there are only two cases in which I will let my patients go. One is when my patients die, and the other is when my patients fully recover. She warned me and I frowned. And leaving my friend's country destroyed because of misunderstanding. Nope, I refused to sleep again. I replied back and we glared at each other before the old woman sat up and pulled the scalpel away from me. Are you crazy? Do you really want to die that much? At least you should rest for another 3 days. She told me. I don't care if I have to die or what, as long my precious people are fine, then I'll be fine. I replied and stuck out my tongue at her. You're such a crazy and ungrateful brat, aren't you? She spat as she grinned witchily and suddenly, we got another companies as I heard some screaming and some people were talking to each other. A few moments later, Chopper and the other two boys were running in and they were holding onto the blue-nosed reindeer as they kept running. Luffy, Sanji-san, I called as they were now full of bandages and not paid me any mind. And the blue-nosed reindeer. A DF user, I guess. I asked even though I already knew who he is, but that would be weird if I suddenly called his name. What a surprise, they recovered very fast. Doctorine pointed out as she watched the boys in amusement. You asked me who is he, right? She asked. His name is Tony Chopper. He's just a regular blue-nosed reindeer that accidentally ate, Hito no mi. That's why he has human abilities, and I teach him about my medical knowledge. She finished. I smiled softly as I watched them. Well, they're all monsters, that's for sure. I said and grinned sheepishly, which unconsciously was being stared at by Doctorine with watchful eyes. Then the other two boys came back as they groaned in pain before Luffy laid an eye on me and quickly ran to me and hugged me tight. Eri, you're all right, he exclaimed in relief and I giggled. Yes Luani-san, thank you for your concern. I replied and spotted his bandaged hands. I brought it up and tore the bandages up, which was revealing his bruised up fingers. I frowned at the nasty sight and brought it up together as I pressed my forehead on his hands and closed my eyes, slowly praying for him and thanking him for his hard work and sacrifice. Thank you, Luffy, for saving me, I thanked him softly and I could practically felt him smiled and grinned before put a hand on my head to tousle my hair up. Shishishi, it's okay Eri, you're feeling better right? Then it's fine, he replied as he giggled and hugged me, as long you're alive, then it's fine to me, he said. I could practically felt my face heated up because of him and I pouted childishly at him before punched him lightly, which earning a giggle from him and he ruffled my hair. You're just being a tsunere, he said and stood up to tear the rest of the bandages away from his body, not minding the shock stare from Sanji-san, probably because Luffy knew tsunere word before turned to me. I told him about it. I told him as I sweat dropped at the sight. Flashback. Just say it that you want it. Shut up. It's not your business. You're just being a tsunere, Ace. What's a tsunere? Tsunere is a person who usually cold but they will warm up later if we got to their good side, just like Ace. Do you understand, Luffy? Not at all. It's a person that at first bad and evil to us, slowly become kind to us, even just a bit, just like Ace before and after we met him. He's cruel to us before, but now he's warmed up to us, right? Ooh, I get it. So basically tsunere is a cold person at first, but will warm up later just like Ace. Right. Oi, I'm right here you know. And they usually blush a lot when we got their bull's eyes, just like Ace. Shut up. Flashback ends. Ahaha, that was great memories. I laughed as the flashback ends. XXX. Please come with us, I beg you. Luffy said to Doctorine, please Obasan. And there goes the forbidden word. Your name if Luffy, right? She asked slowly. Yes, he replied. You'd better watch your language. Doctorine exclaimed as she kicked my brother away to the wall. I'm just 140 years old, I'm still young. Wow, what a strong Obasan, Sanji-san said, also with the forbidden word and she kicked him away also while Luffy already came back and started asking her to come to the pirate. Then they spotted Chopper before they started running after him again, but this time Doctorine was joining also, for chasing only the boys off. Stupid boys. I shook my head and started shivering before sneezed because of the cold, which was sourced from the open door. As I was about to stand to close the door, a familiar figure came and stopped me from walk away from the bed. You'd better take a rest. I turned and saw it was Chopper that said it as he walked into the room using the side door. You still have a fever. Are they around here? He asked as he looked around. No, and I think I'll be fine. I replied as I brought up my hand to check the temperature, which not really hot anymore like before. But you still need to rest anyway. He said and walked toward the main front door, looking out before closing it, because Doctorine's medicine is very strong, your fever is almost gone. However, you still have Kesha's bacteria in your body. He continued, you still need an injection and more rest. I smiled softly at him, thank you for taking care of me. I heard from Doctorine it was you that treated me, so thank you. I said and grinned at him. Shut up. He yelled, I don't want any gratitude from humans. You're still human. He yelled while his action and expression, which pretty much happy and dancing happily, spoke louder than anything. I giggled at the sight and saw him slowly trotted up to me. Are you pirates? He asked as he poked my hand. Yep, I replied with a smile. The real one. Yep. Do you have a pirate flag? Of course, it's on our ship. I replied and smiled. Do you want to be a pirate? I asked, which making him jump backward until he crashed into the bookshelf. Don't be stupid. He yelled and I giggled at it. WHO told you that. Yeshishishi, it's already written all over your face. I replied, anyway, do you want to come with us? I asked, much to his shock. Just come and join us, how about that? If you're interested, that would be a whole lot better for all of us. If we have doctor on board, then I don't have to stay here for 3 days. Besides, we don't have any doctor now. I told him, don't be ridiculous. I'm a reindeer. How could I live with humans? He yelled, but we have a hawk and a wolf dog hybrid with us, you know. I said and grinned at him. But aren't you scared of me? I'm a reindeer, but I can talk and I can stand on 2 legs. He said. I chuckled, why? Do you want me to be scared of you? I asked in amusement. My nose is blue too. He said softly before the 2 boys from earlier came out from the side door suddenly. You're over there, reindeer. They yelled in sync before they started chasing him away to the outside and I sighed in amusement at it. I can't believe those brats. I heard Doctorine said as she sat down on the chair after she sighed in exhaustion. You're not a cute little girl after all. While I'm not here, you must have told my reindeer some stupid idea without my permission, right? She asked. Do I have to ask you to be friends with a guy? I asked as I smiled softly. She laughed. No, just take him with you. She said before crossing her arms across her chest, but it is not gonna be that easy. Because he has a wound inside his heart that even a doctor can't heal. She said. When he was born, he was rejected by his own parents because of his blue nose. He was left to walk alone in the back of his tribe since he was young. She said, until one day, he accidentally ate the Hito no Mi, so everyone treated him as an outcast and chased him away. He's no longer a regular reindeer. However, he still needs nakamas. So he changed into a human. However, his human form is not perfect. Why? It's because of his blue nose. She paused, and he didn't know whom he should blame. He just needs a nakama, but people call him a monster. He's neither reindeer nor human, that's why he always alone. Can you cure his heart? She asked. I just stared at her before looking down, now staring at my connected hands. Everyone treated him as an outcast and calling him a monster, doesn't know who to blame, and always alone. The betrayal, misunderstanding, confusion, and loneliness that attacked him so great and deep to his heart, it's slightly similar to me. I clenched my hands together before looking back at her and smiled softly. Don't worry, Doctorine. We could heal his heart, especially Luffy. He already cured my wound in my heart, so I think Chopper will be cured by him too, I'm sure of it. She just smiled and sat up. However, there was a man. The only one man that he ever talked to. She said, his name is Dr. Halulik who used to live in this kingdom. He's just a fake doctor who gave Chopper a name and called him a son. She finished before suddenly Chopper came in his walk point aka full reindeer form. Doctorine, this is an emergency. He said, Wapple is back. Is that so? She asked back and stood up before walked to the door. Listen Komusum, you better rest now before you got sick again, do you hear me? She asked and walked out from the room after she closed the door. I just stared at the door before walked out from the bed to the bookshelf, taking some of the medical book that pretty much looked interesting to me before walked back to the bed and started reading the books there. Most the time I read the book I read the first, I don't understand a thing about it at all, so I changed the book to medical plants book and started reading it. I found this one is much more interesting than the previous one. After a few minutes and so, Luffy ran into the room, hugging himself up. What's wrong? I asked as I turned my attention back to the medical plants book. I need a coat. It's so cold out there. He replied as he ran in place and kept hugging himself. Just use yours. It's there right. I pointed my thumb to the back aka where the coat is, still not taking off my eyes from the book. Ooh, you're right. Thanks Eri. He replied and quickly grabbed his coat and wore it. He ran out again and closed the door as he ran out. I just sighed and smiled a bit at his antics and flipped another page of the book. I kept going for a few minutes and I was finally at the last page of the book, which showing a fruit with a shape like pomegranate, but it has soft yellow color and a small flower that sprouted from the crown of the pomegranate shaped like fruit. Strangely, this type of plant is the only one that doesn't have any official name in it. Then next to the fruit's picture, there's a picture of the plants, which similar to a banyan tree, but the leaves has white color and the tree's trunk have golden color. A plant that believed has a power to heal any injuries and illnesses. It is said to bear fruit every 100 years and once believed as a legend. But a person with more than 100 years said that they once ate the fruit and still alive until now. No one know where the tree is resides, but they only can be found the fruit somewhere in the sea. I said out loud, a fruit that has a power to heal any injuries and illnesses, and can only be found in the sea. That's weird. It's almost like a devil fruit, only this one is kind of the opposite one. Angel fruit maybe. Nah, that's too mainstream. I quickly ripped the page off and quickly jumped out of bed. I quickly wore all my winter season's outfit and put the ripped paper into the pocket of my coat before walked toward the door and opened it. I peeked and looked around, hoping that the damned doctor isn't around, and walked out from the room and looked down, only got eye with the damned king aka Wapple. Aw shit, I cursed lowly, after almost died because of stupid bug. I found the big-mouthed idiot. You must be a friend of that straw hat brat. Wapple said as he saw me. Sorry, you must be got the wrong person. I told him and started to walk away at first before I felt him climbed up the pillar nearby and started running away fast as he ran after me. Liar, he yelled. Shut up you big-mouthed hippo. I yelled back as I ran fast and ran down the stairs, which made him stuck there. Then suddenly he ate himself whole. How is that even fucking possible? I pointed out as I sweat dropped seeing the sight. Sure, I may have been used to DF users' abilities, but this one is just fucking weird. I ran away as the bucket-sized the supposedly lower mouth jumped down from the stairs before he came out again as a slimmed-up Wapple, which quite weird and just fucking pointless. I was not in the mood of kicking his ass, as I was still recovering also, so I just ran away as fast as I could. But he jumped and landed right on my back, making me landed on the snowy ground hard and cold. You'll be the first one to die, he exclaimed, but I felt something near his waist and quickly took them from there as I was held down by him. But seriously, he's fucking heavy. Moreover, the cold snow right under me is freezing me to the bone. Luckily, Luffy is there and kicked him away from me. Eri, you okay? He asked in concern. I'm pretty much fine, I guess. I replied. Hey, how come he's so skinny now? He asked as his leg retracted back with a smack. He ate himself. I answered with poker face but with slight of disgusted tone before turned to look at him fully. I saw one of his sleeves was ripped off from the seam, which only one reason behind it. That is, of course, he ripped it off by himself by force. Luffy, what happened to your coat? I asked. He turned with dumb face before realized it. Oh, that guy threw a bomb at me. He replied. I just sighed, you know that it cost 30,000 belly to buy that one for you, especially it was my money. I told him, and now you ruined it easily. Goodbye 30,000 belly. I cried comically as an imaginary money paper with 30 number on it flew away with its cute wings. Eek, sorry. He apologized. I huffed at him, you better pay it off with half of your foods for a day tomorrow. I told him, much to his shock. What? No way. He yelled in shock. Yes way, and you must do it or I will beat you up. I replied before the enemy was cutting us off. Stop that nonsense. Oh, he's strong. Luffy commented as I just looked at the enemy. Behind me are a weapon room and only I has the key to open this room. Inside this room there are many weapons that you can't ever imagine. He exclaimed as he showed us the big door behind him is known as the door of the weapon room. Just what's with people and telling us unnecessary things such as the weapon room is full of weapons. Well duh, it's called weapon room for a reason that already obvious. And if I eat those weapons, they will become part of my body. He said, be prepared for the ultimate human weapon, the scariest in this world. I will open it now. He exclaimed before realizing that his key to open the weapon room is gone. Seriously, what's with people and their intention of telling other people what are they gonna do next? That's just plain stupid. Then there is an awkward silence between the three of us until Wapple decided to ran away as he exclaimed that he still has one last trick, which of course got chased by Luffy, and I just realized that Sanji-san is right behind me, pulling himself up on the snowy ground as he approaching me, asking if am I alright. Pretty much, Sanji-san, thank you. I replied and brought up my right hand and opened it, revealing the said weapon room's key. Well, I guess I could raid some of the weapons and sell them. I exclaimed and walked to the door. I put in the key to the keyhole and turned it, making the door clicked, and I pushed the door, opening it a bit, and I walked in after I took the key back and put it in my coat's pocket. I grinned widely as I saw the weapons and giggled softly as I walked around the room, looking for any useful weapon that I could take for me to use or sell. As I walked around, I felt something slightly familiar and turned. I saw a blade that almost looks like a fork, or specifically a trident, but it's only the blade in the middle one if far longer. I grabbed it and inspected it further as I saw the bottom of the blade, there's some kind of slot there. Maybe it's one of my bow staff's blade pieces. Probably. I quickly looked around to search for the case and found it right behind of the boxes full of flintlocks. I put the blade back to the case and started looking around again for more useful weapons. I found a big sack and decided to put flintlocks, cannonballs, and sheathed swords in. Quite heavy, sure, but I hope it will be worth it for the ship, plus it will give back my full strength by carrying something heavy for weights. I carried it up and walked out from the room. I locked the door back up and approached Sanji-san that, I think, tried his best to pull his body up. Are you alright, Sanji-san? You look pretty beat. I asked as I crouched down to see him clearly. Ah, As long you're alright, I'm perfectly fine, Eri-kwan. He replied before I punched his head upside down, which knocking him out for good. Good, now you pass out and got a time to rest. I told him and pat his head. I sneezed as I felt the place is getting colder and it's finally get into me. I walked back to where my temporary room is and lay down on the bed, suddenly felt all tired. I slipped into the blanket and started to drift off to sleep. XXX. What the hell are you doing? Zoro yelled as Luffy just shot himself toward him and Usopp, who was already unconscious, while the suspect just laughed. I thought you were one of them because you were wearing their clothes. He replied, so, you're climbing up here to see us. Didn't you say that you don't know how to hike, Usopp? He asked. Are you kidding? A man like me can't be stopped by a mountain. Talking about that, this is one tough adventure. Usopp replied before cut off by Nami. We just used a lift to get here. Nami said. By the way, are Eri-chan and Sanji-san doing alright? Vivi asked. Yep, they're fine. Luffy replied with a grin. That's good to hear, Vivi and Nami said and smiled in relief. What are you doing at the top of the castle anyway? Zoro asked. I just sent that stupid king flying. Luffy replied simply. So, the thing that just flew away was really Wapol? Dalton asked as he just arrived there. How about the other two? Oh, that reindeer has already taken care of them. Hey, listen up, we got a new nakama. Luffy said and called his nakamas up. Reindeer, took care of them. Dalton asked as his eyes wandered off and quickly his mouth was gaping as he saw the said reindeer in shock, as the reindeer is hiding in the opposite way. Blue nose, he muttered as he saw Chopper's blue nose and started bowing low at him. Thank you very much, I am sure that from now on, Drum Kingdom will become a better country. Dalton said as he bowed down at Chopper, much to the reindeer's shock. Ah, look, what is that weird creature? Reindeer. No, it's a monster. Don't do anything to him. Dalton exclaimed, trying to stop all the comments of the men. Monster. Usopp exclaimed as his eyes bulged out as his eyes fell on Chopper, which scaring Chopper and he ran away fast. You idiot, he's the new nakama that I talked about. Luffy yelled at Usopp as he hit him. What did you say? You made him run away. Luffy yelled again before chasing Chopper up. Wait. As the people were watching Luffy chasing the reindeer up, Kurha came and called them up, this surprising almost all of them except Dalton. She told them to go inside and treat everyone that hurt. XXX. I woke up so suddenly as I heard someone screeching and screaming in misery. I sat up as I woke up, which apparently shocking the people around me. I turned slowly as I yawned, and I saw Vivi, Nami, and Takao next to the bedside, watching over me. What, it's you guys? I said as I saw them. Eri-chan, do you feel better now? Vivi asked softly and I nodded as I grinned. Yep, better as always. I replied and petted Takao. Wapol always carries that key with him. I think it flew away with Wapol. I heard Dalton said. Really? That's bad. Doctorine replied and I immediately remembered this scene. Hey Doctorine-san, I called her, we're not going to pay you for treating me and those two, yeah, no. And can you please just let us go and continue our journey now? I asked. Are you kidding me? I will take all of your treasure on your ship for the medical expense and you have to stay here for another 2 days. She replied. That's right Ojo-sama, you should stay here until you're absolutely cured. Takao said while I just chuckled and petted him. Nah, I'm tired being sick and we have another thing much more important, right? I replied. But Eri-chan. Vivi trailed off as I brought up a hand to stop her words. Nope, once I said we'll go, we'll go. I told her before turning back to the doctor and taking out the said key and twirling it around my finger as I smiled mischievously at her. So do you really need this weapon room's key? I asked. How did you get that key? Dalton asked in surprise. Is that the real key? What's going on here? Doctorine asked in wonder. Oh, I just walked out from the room and stole it from that big-mouthed hippo when he caught me. I replied simply, which earns a hit in the head from the doctor. That hurt you stupid witch. I yelled as I treated the bump on my head while she took the key away from my hands when she hit me.
Yo, quick pause, smash that like button, hit subscribe if you're new here, share this video, and tell me in the comments which part you're loving the most.
That's for walked out without my watch. She replied as she turned around with the key in her hand. Alright, I will take this for the medical expense. However, as a doctor, I still can't let you go. She said. Wait, then give the key back. Nami said. Listen to me, I will go to do something downstairs, and I will leave this door open, and no one will be left in this room. Besides, I have already cured that boy. She said as she turned and pointed at me, so you can't run away from here. She finished and walked out from the room. The rest of you follow me. I need your help. I chuckled while Nami said, I feel that she wants to get her coat, take Sanji-kun and get out of here. That's what I heard too. Vivi said. She is just being a tsundere. Me and Takao said in sync. I walked out from the bed and stretched out for good. I wore all my winter gears before walked into the room where Sanji-san is and letting him go from the binds. After I wore his coat back, I put him on Takao's back and strapped him on him. The 5 of us walked out from the castle after I took the big bundle sack of the weaponries I took before and heard Luffy saying something to Chopper. Chopper, I muttered as I saw him. But I'm a reindeer. I have hooves and horns. I also have a blue nose. Chopper yelled and the memories of him become an outcast flooded in. Actually, I want to become a pirate too. He continued, but I'm not human. I'm a monster. I can't be friends with humans. That's why I came here just to thank you. He yelled as I saw tears were falling down from his eyes before he looked down, the rim of his hat shadowing his eyes. Thank you for asking me. But I will stay here. If you're bored, just come to visit me sometimes. He said, but quickly cut off by Luffy. Shut up. Let's go. Luffy shouted loudly as he brought his hands up. I grinned at the situation and shook my head. What kind of invitation that telling the one that invited to shut up? I sighed at that but smiled softly. UNXXX. Hey, why don't we go to say goodbye to that Obasan and that Asan? Luffy asked as he sat down on a snowball. Just let Chopper go by himself. I told him as I sat down next to Takao and warming myself up. Yeah, because it will be a very sad goodbye. Nami said. So, we're going to leave them without saying goodbye? Usopp asked. Yep, when Chopper comes back, we will go back to Mary and head to Alabasta. I replied and turned to Vivi. I hope this is fine with you, Vivi. I smiled. Of course, as long as we have a doctor with us, I'm okay, she replied. Doctor? Luffy wondered. That's right, I should prepare the lift. Luffy, lend me a hand will you? Usopp called as he walked into where the said lift is. They have a lift. That's so cool. Luffy replied and go after him. After a while, I managed to make small snowmen as I wait for Chopper. Sure, I may hate cold, but snow always fascinates me. I never saw any snow before I got thrown into this world, except for hails cause it happened once back home. Then I heard yelling and shouting from inside and I grinned as I sweat dropped. I guess Doctorine is saying a goodbye to Chopper, I stood up and brushed off all the snow from the beanie on my head and shoulders. I approached where everyone is, as they were commenting about the noises. After a while, we saw Chopper in his walk point with a sled behind him. He's coming, Zoro said. What's going on? Nami asked. I'm being chased, Chopper replied as he kept running. Everyone, hop on. We are going down now, he exclaimed and we saw the evil doctor was coming as she throws some knives to us. What the hell? We quickly hopped on the sled except for Takao as he prefers flying along with Sanji-san on his back and Chopper quickly ran. He jumped off the cliff and he apparently ran on a rope that used for the doctor's way to go down. I was gripping on the rail for my dear life as I grinned in excitement. Thankfully, Takao brought me my camera and I took a picture of the sight of the moon and the scenery of the night. As we were right at the end of the road, Chopper jumped off the rope and ran toward where the coast is, not minding the people's shocked stares. Yahoo! Luffy cheered, that's so cool. Can we do it again? Are you nuts? Nami yelled at him. Now's not the time for that, Luffy. I told him as I grinned. Actually, I totally enjoyed the ride just then, it's so fun. Besides, we have to go now. I added. I thought that I was gonna die. Usopp sighed. Hey, where am I? Sanji-san exclaimed as he finally woke up right on Takao's back as he flew beside us. Oh, you're finally conscious, Vivi pointed out. We kept moving until we heard loud booming and stopped. We turned to see what it is as Chopper turned back to his brain point and walked back to see what it is. At first, there's nothing, but then it slowly lights up and I smiled widely. There, at the top of the rocky mountain, appeared some kind of big clouds with soft pink color. The snow that falls from the sky also slowly changes into soft pink color, probably because of the soft pink clouds that spreads away on the sky. It's really beautiful, isn't it? I pointed out as slowly my eyes tears up a bit at the sight and at Chopper who was yelling at the beautiful sight while everyone else are fascinated by the beautiful sight. A big sakura tree in the winter island is, kind of like a miracle, isn't it? XXX. We were partying on the ship as we sailed off from the island. I kept staring at the big, sakura tree, from distance after I took the picture of it. I smiled softly before turning to everyone else that was partying loudly before got yelled at by Nami. I saw that Flame tried his best to thaw Karu up slowly while Vivi wondered why Karu was on the freezing lake when we arrived at the coast earlier. Maybe he just accidentally fell into the water. What an idiot. Zoro laughed. Be quiet, Mr. Bushido. Vivi yelled at him. He said that he saw Zoro Dono jumped into the water and disappear. He thought that Zoro Dono was in danger, so he jumped into the water to try to save him but he got frozen. Takao said. It's all you fault. Nami exclaimed as she hit Zoro's head upside down. You can talk? Chopper asked to Takao. Yes, I accidentally ate a DF long time ago because I was hungry that time, so I could change into a griffin and I could talk human language and still understand animal languages. He answered, just like you, Chopper Dono. Really? Chopper asked, so we have something in common, then. Tony-kun, you could understand Karu too. Vivi asked. He nodded, yeah, I used to be animal, so I understand their language. He replied. That's so great, Chopper. Nami said as she clapped her hands together, not only you know about medicine, you also have other talents. That apparently made Chopper happy, but he denied it. Damn it, I won't be happy by those words, you bastard. He said as he danced in happiness. You look so happy. Usopp, Luffy and me exclaimed as the two boys' sweat dropped at the sight while I just giggled at the cute sight. What do you mean by that, Nami-san? Sanji-san asked. Chopper is a high medical doctor. I told him, he also the one that cured me. I added. What? Chopper is a doctor. What do you think? I asked him to join us. I asked as I sweat dropped. Because he can transform into 7 different forms, a cool reindeer. Luffy answered. An emergency food supply. Sanji-san answered, which scaring the little reindeer up and about to ran away in fear if I didn't grab him. Ah, I forgot to bring my bag with me. All of my medical supplies are in that bag. He suddenly said in panic. You mean this bag? Nami asked as she showed him the said bag, which a small bag with white crooked medical cross on it. I saw it in the sled. My bag, but why? Chopper wondered and I smiled before crouched down so I could eye to him. I guess Kurha-san sure does want you to go, but she hates sad goodbyes, I pointed out and grinned. It must be doctoring then. She understands what you are thinking. Nami said as she gave the bag to Chopper and we sat down side by side to him. She's a really great person. But then the moment was cut off by the two idiots as they were dancing with chopsticks stuck on their nostrils to their lower mouth and a basket. They even asked Chopper to join and the small doctor followed them by putting the chopsticks into the nostrils and the lower mouth. I laughed at the sight as Nami yelled at him for copying them. Maybe I should try it too. I asked in amusement. Sure, the more, the merrier. Luffy said and laughed. No, stop it Eri-chan. The cook's ship yelled as he heard me. Then a sound of whistle was heard and we turned to the person who did it, which is Usopp. Alright, everyone listens up, he said as he took our attentions with a mug of sake in his hand. Everyone's attention turned back to where they are before and started ignoring the sniper's speech. Karu, you've been drinking too much. Oi Baka cook, bring me more sake. What did you say? How dare you order me? Sanji, are we out of dinosaur's meat? For our new friend, here is a toast to our new doctor, Chopper, let's have a toast. He exclaimed and brought up the mug. I heard and turned to Chopper, followed by Nami. This is the first time in my life that I feel so happy. He said and we both grinned at it. Let's drink for our new friend. Yeah, we cheered as we brought up the mug full of sake and a big toast and laughed happily as we kept partying until another few hours. XXX. Dalton-san. Dalton turned to his men and saw them approaching him and his talking company aka Kurha up. This is bad. I just remembered that there's something I have to tell you. They said as one of them offered him 2 flyers. What is it? He asked. Take a look at this. Dalton took the flyers and it revealed as bounty papers of the highest bounties from East Blue. It must be them, they said while Dalton impressed by the amount of the bounties. 35 and 30 million belly. Them. I see, they're the bad ones, ha ha ha. Dalton said as he laughed. Where did you get this? He asked. Actually, we forgot to tell you. About a week ago, there was a man in Ropal. He looked like a regular traveler, but the weird thing is that it was not snowing that day. They said, nobody knew where he was from, but he said that he's looking for Blackbeard pirates who destroyed our kingdom. When we told him that Thief already left, he said, then can I ask you something? Have you ever seen a pirate with a straw hat and a girl with him? When we told him that we've never seen one, he gave us this paper and said, if they're here, please tell them that I will wait for them in Alabasta for 10 days. I see. Actually you don't have to tell them. Dalton said. Why? Because their next destination is Alabasta, I think. He replied while Kurha was staring at Luffy and Aries' bounties. What is it, Dr. Kurha? Why are you so quiet? He asked as he just realized she was quiet. Do you know, Gal D. Roger? She asked. D. You mean Gold Roger? Of course, there's no one in this world who doesn't know about him. Dalton replied. I see, now they call him Gold Roger. She muttered, it seems that my reindeer has followed a dangerous man. She said before she laughed. D's will is still alive, She smiled at it and laughed. Chapter 37. I'm so hungry, I whined as I lied on the deck on my abdomen with stuck out tongue, and it's getting hoot, I whined again. Apparently, our food stocks were suddenly disappeared in a night and we only ate breakfast with normal portions for the girls. But of course, it's not full for me and I was eating my delicacies stocks until it empty an hour ago, and I'm still hungry. Now tell me, who is the one that eating all the portions for all of us for our journey to Alabasta? I heard Sanji-san asked and I turned my head, seeing my dear big brother and his partner were interrogated by the cook. No, we don't know anything about it. Luffy answered as he was sweating a lot and looking sideways, waving his hand in, I don't know anything, moves. Woof. The hybrid replied, also looking sideways. Hey, why do you two keep looking away? Look straight into my eyes. Sanji-san said. Now, let me ask you once again. How is it that the rations for 11 that I had saved up for our journey to Alabasta suddenly disappeared in the middle of the night? He asked again before crouching down and grabbed Luffy by his lower face. Resistance is futile, you'd be a terrible poker player. Sanji-san stated while Luffy just grumbling things. Sanji-san stood up before leaned down. Hey, there's something around your mouth. He said. Crap, leftovers. Luffy exclaimed as he smacked his hands onto his mouth, not realizing his stupidity. So it was you. Sanji-san kicked Luffy and Flame away hard before turning to Nami, who was looking at the scene upstairs while I just stared at it with dead eyes because of hunger. Oh Nami-san, can you believe that asshole? You gotta buy me a refrigerator with a lock. He said with love mode. Yeah, now that you mention it, Nami trailed off as both her and my eyes turned to the other three that were fishing, but we saw that they were kind of chewing. Our lives probably depend on it, she said. I stood up as Usopp said, gulp, okay, better catch some fish for Sanji-kun. While Karu just quacked, I smiled sweetly as I approached them and put my hand on Usopp and Karu's shoulder before slammed them up hard, making them fell down from the railings while I was fuming at them. Stupid assholes, I muttered and lied back down on the deck near the others that were talking about Crocodile, the Shichibukai, which being the hero of Alabasta or some shit like that. Yeah, I just need to kick his ass right. Luffy asked as he punched the air enthusiastically. Yes, first we'll stop the rebellion. If we can drive the Baroque works out of Alabasta, my country will be saved. Vivi said. Wait, hold on. Usopp interrupted, how the heck does this Baroque works system work, anyways? Mr. This, and, Miss, that, he continued as Zoro wakes up. The system is simple. At the top is Crocodile, Mr. 0 feet. Vivi started, there are 14 feet agents, who take orders directly from the boss, 13 men and 1 animal. All their names are, Mr., plus a number. They are paired with female agents who complement their particular powers. She continued. Mr. 13 and Miss Friday are special in that they punish the other agents for failure. All the agents from Mr. 5 up are called, officer agents. Most of them have DF powers. They don't act unless the business is extremely important. Below them are the frontier agents. They command the basic units. Their job is to raise funds for the company around the entrance to the Grand Line. That is the secret criminal organization, Baroque Works, in a nutshell. She finished. I get it now. Look out Crocodile. I just need to kick his ass, right? Luffy exclaimed as he punched the air again. You didn't understand a work she said, did you? Sanji-san huffed. But there is also a pair of the agents that is only Crocodile and Miss All Sunday knew. Vivi continued, which taking most of our attentions. They're called as Mr. 0, 5, A.N., Rito.5, and Miss Half Day. They're also at the same level as Mr. 13 and Miss Friday, a pair of punishers, but they're far more brutal as they will kill the failures with no mercy. I heard that they're hidden from the publicity of Baroque Works and most of the agents there don't know about them except for the top pairs. She said. They usually work when they got a secret mission from Crocodile and I heard they knew about his identity. She continued. And they usually become Crocodile's lap dogs and will do anything he said. Then that means, if the takeover of Alabasta is the Baroque Works, final plan, then, the, officer agents, should all. Yes, Vivi reassured. They'll be together. She finished. There was an awkward silence before the Straw Hats go back to their activities before. Are you sure? I asked, which was taking the princess's confusion look. Are you sure that if we stop the rebellion, that stupid alligator also stop? I continued. That sure got Vivi right on the spot, as she gripped her arms. As far as I could tell you, that stupid alligator is the one that caused all the chaos. And if I were you, I would kick that stupid lizard first then stop the rebellion. I finished as I sat up to look at her. But it's just my idea, so you don't have to follow my idea. I added as I shrugged and scratched my head. I stood up and walked away, leaving her in her thoughts. Well, don't mind me. I'll be at the crow's nest, and if any of you need anything, just call me, K. I told them as I waved my hand and climbed up to the crow's nest, with Takao perched on the railings, watching the surroundings. I sat down and started writing on my logbook. I glued some photos I took to the pages and gave some description next to the photos. Wondering how I got the photos out from the camera. Well, I have printer Den Den Mushi that was bought by Usopp back in Logatown, as he said that I got camera but no printer and that will be sucks. I thanked him and he also helped me by plugging the plugs of the Den Den Mushi to my camera and it started printing out the picture I chose. Now the Den Den Mushi resides in women's quarter so I could print the photos whenever I want. As I kept busy with my logbook, I could hear Vivi was yelling about Karu, probably being the bait as both Usopp and Luffy ate all the baits. And I heard something hissing in the distance and I saw Takao flew down to the deck. I put away the book and stood up, wondering what the hissing noises came from. It actually came from a steam from the sea in the distance. I jumped down from the crow's nest onto the deck with loud bang, which was startling almost everyone in the area. There's a freaking steam right in front of us, I said as I grumble. Steam? From the ocean? Chopper exclaimed in disbelief. Yes, it's a hotspot. Nami replied. What's that? He asked again. It's where magma comes out. Down below us are underwater volcanoes. I told him as I walked upstairs. There are volcanoes underwater. He asked. Yep, there are more volcanoes underwater than on land. I answered as my mind wandered back to my home country, Indonesia, cause it's in the Ring of Fire area and I turned to see the steam. In several thousand or 10,000 years, there will be a new island here. I continued. That's so cool, Eri Kwan. Sanji-san said as he swooned. This place is amazing, Vivi muttered as she looked at the place in wonder. Yeah, Nami agreed. Right before we went into the steam, I quickly tied my shawl around my nose and mouth. Sulfurs smells bad, and I completely hate it, especially for a sharp-nosed person like me. As we finally inside of the steam, almost everyone were complaining about the smell, especially the animals and eventually me too. I was almost dying because of the smell as I was starting to get dizzy until a few moments later, we finally went through the damn steam. And guess what? The bait the Usopp and Luffy use, aka Karu, got something in the end. But guess what, again? It's someone, not something. Guess what, again? It's a freaking Okama in weird outfit and swans on either of his shoulder with ballet shoes. Yep, it's Mr. 2 aka Bonkure. Freaking hell damn it. Why the damned Okama? XXX. After some chaos the damned Okama fell onto the sea. Despite of him being a hammer, we eventually pulled him up to the ship and thanked us for saving him. Then he saw Vivi, who was standing on the upper deck, and started saying things to her before winked and kissed by at her, which making both Vivi and me grimaced at the sight. Hee, so you can't swim either. Luffy said. The Okama nodded. Yes, I ate a devil fruit. He said. Really? What kind? Usopp asked in interest. Well, I must wait for my ship to come back anyways, so I might as well put on a show. Bonkure said as he stood up. This is my power. He then slammed his palm right on Luffy's face hard, making my dear brother to fly back, slamming to the wall. Luffy. Most of us called as we saw our dear captain was attacked, by the damned Okama. I just stared at the scene with twitching right eyebrow, totally annoyed by the fact he did it. Zoro was about to attack the Okama, only stopped as we heard him saying to wait with Luffy's voice, which shocking all of us but me. Huh, Luffy exclaimed in confusion and wonder as he saw his twin, it's me. They're identical. Usopp exclaimed in shock. Surprised. Gahahaha. The Okama exclaimed as he laughed before touched his face with his left hand, turning his face back to normal. Touch my left hand and it goes back to normal. This is the power of my main no mi. He said. The voice, Nami trailed off, even the physique is the same. Usopp finished. While Luffy was amazed by the power, the Okama suddenly touched each of our faces but the animals as he said, well, it's not necessary to punch you for it work. Making me hit his head at that. Then why the hell did you do that to my brother, you stupid Okama? I exclaimed with steaming fist and shark teeth. Ouchie. He exclaimed as he continued. Well, if I just touch you face, then he turned into Usopp. With my right hand, this time Zoro. I can imitate anyone, now Chopper. Just like this. Then Nami before turning into me. And your bodies too. Then he suddenly opened his shirt, showing my upper body to the world and making Usopp and Chopper and I'm sure he only imitates Usopp. That pervert stared at it in shock. Thank God Luffy only stared at it with blank face cause I would never forgive Usopp if he also contains my brother's pure brain. I quickly jumped and kicked his head hard in anger as I yelled, stop it you fucker. Ouchie. I'm so sorry, but that's all I can show you, he sighed as he regained back his conscious while the three stooges were cheering to show it some more, which of course making the damned Okama to change his mind. Stupid asshole. I hissed as the Okama were showing off the faces he ever touched and guess what? One of them is Cobra's aka Vivi's dad, which of course making the princess to stared in shock. The damned Okama started twirling again as he said that it's all and the three stooges were cheering at it before the four of them were dancing together, shoulder on shoulder. Someone kill them. Nami sighed in defeat as she turned around and saw something on the horizon before turning back to the Quartet stooges. Hey, there's a ship coming this way, is it yours? She asked the Okama, who immediately jumped on the railings, backing all of us. Well, is it time to leave already? Too bad, he said while the three stooges were whining about the fact their new friend is going to leave. Do not be sad, my friend. Separation is inevitable, but never forget me. Then he glanced at us with big grin and tear up eye as he brought a thumbs up. Length of time means nothing to true friendship. Zoro, Nami, Vivi and me just stared at the sight with blank faces while the three stooges were cheering at that and yelling we'll see him again. Then the damned Okama jumped on his ship that right beside our ship and exclaimed to move on. Yes sir, Mr. Bonkure-sama. The minions exclaimed and the ship sailed away, which making most of us surprised about the fact that the Okama is one of the officer agents, especially Vivi. That was, Mr. Bonkure. Vivi exclaimed in shock. Vivi, didn't you recognize his face? Luffy asked. No, I've never met Mr. 2, the Mr. 1 pair, or the Mr. 0, 5 pair. I didn't know that he had any powers either. She replied as she fell on her knees and sat down in defeat. But I did hear rumors about him, she said, that he was a huge Okama, talked like an Okama, wore a swan coat, which had, Okama way, writing on his back. You should have noticed. The four of us, Zoro, Usopp, Luffy and me, said as we did a backhand motion. One of those past faces he showed off from memory was my father's. What in the world will he use my father's face to do? Vivi said in dismay. Well, if you got to be ruler, he could definitely do some bad things with it. I stated. We just let a really dangerous guy get away. Usopp said in worry. He was an enemy. Chopper asked. He is the enemy, Chopper. I told him. Well, he will be dangerous if he turns into an enemy when he finds out we're his enemies. If he uses his memory to turn into one of us, we won't be able to trust each other. Nami said. Really? Luffy asked, dumbfounded, which of course making Nami to sigh and about to explain it to him, only get cut off by Zoro. Wait a minute, she may have a point, but there's no need to be afraid of him. Zoro said as he put a hand on Luffy's shoulder with a smirk, and I walked up next to Luffy with the same smirk. I think we're lucky that we met him. I said, now we can use countermeasures. I continued. What are you guys talking about? Luffy asked as he looked at Zoro and me back and forth. I sighed. Alright Luffy, let me explain it to you. I said as I pulled him down to sit down as I sat down right in front of him. So, you knew that Okama is our enemy, right? I asked and he nodded. And you knew that he has a DF power to copy us, right? He nodded again. So, I exclaimed, if he knew that we're his enemy, he could turn into one of us and fooled us. I explained in the simplest way possible. Do you understand? I asked as he tried to think, but his face was getting redder because of thinking before he opened his eyes in realization. Oh, I know. So he could turn into one of us and fooled us by acting like one of us, right? He asked back and I nodded as I smiled with proud. That's right, Luffy. I'm so proud of you for being a little bit smart. I praised him as I pinched his cheeks not so hard. Hey, apparently, that made him feel offended. XXX. I was staring at the sky as I lied down at the back deck and I felt something was coming right under of us. I sat upright. The said something was emerged out from the sea behind the ship, revealing it to be a sea cat as it meowed loudly as he resurfaced. It's a sea cat, I stated as I stared at it and took a picture of it. A sea cat, Vivi exclaimed as she saw it, while Usopp and Chopper are shocked about the sudden appearance of the sea cat. Sea cat is a pun of black-tailed gull, I thought as I saw both Luffy and Zoro ran up right in front of me, each of them preparing their weapons aka katanas and fists, which of course scaring the sea cat off as it swam backward and paled. No, it's retreating. Put the ship in reverse. You can't do that. Don't let it get away. Make sure you kill it. Sanji-san exclaimed as he ran and joined the other two. That, of course, stopped by Vivi by hitting those three with a mop, making them hitting the railings while the sea cat swam back into the sea. What's wrong, Vivi-chan? Sanji-san asked. Vivi, you asshole. Luffy spat. You can't eat it, you bakas. I said as I walked beside Vivi. Sea cats are sacred animals in Alabasta. I continued and smiled to Vivi, which means that we're close, nay. I grinned and she nodded as she smiled. Don't worry, Luffy, we'll get our food real soon. I told him as I pat his head and my stomach rumbled in hunger loudly while he was biting the railings and crying at the fact his food got away. He quickly turned with new gleams on his face. Really? What kind of cat will it be this time? He asked while Vivi was talking to Nami. Vivi, the wind and temperature seem to be stabilized. Nami said. Yes, we've entered the Alabastan climate zone. The sea cat is more proof. Vivi replied. I bet those things behind us are even more proof we're close to Alabasta. Zoro said, taking all of our attentions, and saw a huge fleet of ships with Baroque works sails on them on the horizon. Vivi was totally shocked at the sight while everyone else was panicking about it. Stop getting worried. They're nothing, Zoro reassured. Yeah, all is lost if we lose sight of our true objective. There are only 11 of us. Sanji-san said. Well then, I started as I smiled and bringing up a brush and quick dry black ink bottle in my hand. Let's do the plan I'm going to tell you guys now. I finished and told them about the plan. We then drew an X on each other's left arms and we covered it by tying a white cloth on it. Listen, everyone. I called and untied the white cloth around my arm, revealing the X mark. When we got separated and met with each other, we must show the mark immediately at the time we met with each other, understood? I explained and they nodded. Tie them on tight, Zoro said as he tied the white cloth. Our enemies have plenty of mysteries. I see, Vivi said as she helped Nami up to tie the cloth. As long as we see these, we don't need to doubt one another. Nami said. Does he really look like us that much? Sanji-san asked as he tied the cloth. When he does his main no mi thing. He doesn't look like us, he is us. Usopp replied. Too bad, you really should have seen it. I'm not interested in Okamas. The cook replied. We were even dancing, Usopp added. I chuckled as I saw Karu got tied up in piles of white cloth and helped him up to tie it properly on his wing. Now that we know he's among the enemy, we can't allow for any careless individual actions. Zoro said. Nay, what should I do? Chopper asked. Just do what you can, Chopper Dono. Talkout told him as he helped flame up. That's right, Usopp said. Run away from enemies you can't beat. Just do your best, he continued. You're just telling that to yourself. Sanji-san stated while Karu quacked in agreement. What I can do, got it. Chopper nodded. We're coming up to the harbor. Nami announced as she saw the said harbor is close. Let's stop in that inlet to the west. We have to hide the ship. She finished and we gathered back up. Okay. Whatever happens from now on, this left arm, Luffy brought up his left arm, which was followed by all of us as we stood up in circle, is proof of Nakama. He exclaimed as we smiled. Now, let's get onto dry land. Luffy exclaimed, to a restaurant. Oh, and Alabasta. He continued. Make up your mind, you baka. I just smiled weakly at the sight and saw Vivi was smiling as she brushed on the clothed arm. I smiled and put my hand on her shoulder. Isn't it nice to have them as nakamas? I asked and she nodded. So tried to rely on us too, K. I told her and grinned, Geshishishi. XXX. We are finally here. Both Luffy and me yelled in sync as we get closer to the coast and jumped off the ship and ran forward. Restaurant. We exclaimed in relief as we cried in happiness while we ran, ignoring the rest of the crew that yelled at us. I was running forward in fast speed and eventually arrived at the port town, Nanohana, if I'm not mistaken. I eventually lost sight of Luffy as I just realized that he's not beside me. I just shrugged and started to pant heavily as sweat started pouring down from my whole body. Damn it, this is far hotter than Indonesia. It feels like I'm gonna melt. I thought and stood up properly as I started looking around and saw a shop that sells Alabastan outfits. Thankfully, I bring my money with me so I went in to buy one. I was welcomed by the owner and I just nodded as I looked around the place. Nay, I called, do you have a clothes for women but not too feminine-like? I asked. Of course we have, madam. The owner replied as he told me to wait for a moment and left me alone as he took the said clothes I just asked for. I was looking at the clothes while waiting and then he came with the clothes in his hands. It's a light orange colored long-sleeved coat with light materials and golden rims with some patterns. There's a skirt-like robe for the lower part with dark orange sash for the belt and a brooch for pinning the sash together. Then there are Aladdin-style pants, you know, the puffy one with the same color as the sash. This is pretty cool, I said as I took it from the owner's hand and inspected it closer. There are its matching headgear and shoes, also. The owner said and left me again before came back with the headgear and the shoes. The headgear is actually like a nap, only the piece those coverings both of the nose and mouth can be take off and it's not big like the usual nap I saw back in TVs back home. It's like for thieves, you know, the one that covering all of their face but eyes. It also has the same color as the sash and the pants. Then the shoes is a pair of flat shoes that are, thankfully, not pointy at the front with golden color. These are cool too. I like it, I said as I smiled a bit. I think I'll take it. I told him and gave him some Baileys to him, who took it gratefully and put it inside his pocket. You don't mind if I wear it now, right? I asked. Oh, it's all right, madam. Please, you could wear it at the fitting room right there. He said as he showed me the said fitting room. I smiled at him as thanks as I walked to the fitting room to wear the clothes. I quickly wore the clothes and tied my hair in low ponytail before put on the headgear but not with the cloth that covering my nose and mouth. I tied the belt around my waist, right under the sash, and slipped the baton-length bow staff and the blades, the Bisanto blade and the trident blade, along. I grabbed my cap and shawl before tying the shawl across my shoulder. Then I looked at myself at the mirror and nodded. Well, it's not so bad at all. I walked out from the fitting room, with the owner right in front of the room. How do I look? I asked. Splendid, madam. The owner replied with thumbs up. Well then, time to find the restaurant. I exclaimed and ran out the shop while the owner bid me a thank you. I closed my eyes as I activated my hotkey to detect people's presences in the restaurant is. I kept running as sometimes I stepped or jumped away as there's someone right in front of me until I eventually right in front of the said restaurant. I cheered up and ran inside, not minding the stares from the people as I cheered loudly earlier. I sat down right in front of the bar counter and slamming the counter several times loudly, which was taking almost everyone's attentions. Awesome. Bring me food, I exclaimed while the owner just nodded as he sweat dropped at my wild actions. Here you go, he said as he put many plates of food right in front of me and I cheered as my stomach grumbled loudly and ate the food as fast as I can. Be careful or you'll choke, OJOU-san. I heard the owner said as he saw me sucking the foods like a vacuum cleaner back at TV's back home. I just nodded and kept eating until the foods are gone but I'm still hungry as it kept growling. More, I exclaimed, not minding the shocked looks from people in the place. The owner came back with other plates of foods and put it back in front of me. I ate again fast for another 2 times before my stomach was bulged up and I burped out loud, totally full. Geshishishi. That was fun, I exclaimed with my distinct laugh and big grin. She just ate meals for 10 people. I heard someone said as I picked my teeth with toothpick. Are you serious? She's not human. Another one said as I burped again and drank down the water from my glass. Whoa, what's happening here? I heard a familiar voice said as the person walked through the awkward moment of the people in the restaurant. It's just like there's a monster here. The person continued as he walked closer and sat down beside me on the stool. I turned and widened my eyes as I saw a really familiar face of the person's before. I grinned widely. Ace, I exclaimed as I jumped on him, which surprising him, and he turned to see who the hell is the one that hugging him before, his face beaming with happiness. Airy. I grinned and he pinched my cheeks jokingly as he smirked. That quite hurt, yeah, no. He said while I just whined and hurt before he let it go and slapped my cheek softly while he laughed. Well, never expect to meet you in the restaurant of all places. Then again, both Luffy and you are love foods for crying out loud. He said as I sat back down on the stool. Yeshishishi, you know us better. I replied as I grinned and we laughed together before Ace ordered some food for him and back to me. So, where's Luffy? I thought he will be with you after hearing the message. He asked. Nah, like usual, he got lost on the way here and I dunno where he is now. Probably in some deserts far from here. I replied. And what message? I asked as I tilted my head, totally dumbfounded. You didn't get the message. He echoed back as the meals were put down right in front of him and he started eating. Well, never mind. How's your pirating life now? He asked as he chewed his food. It's awesome. I cheered as I brought my arms up. We kicked some marines and pirates' asses on the way here and we got new nakama named Chopper. I continued with excitement and kept going cheerfully as he listened to me with full interest as he ate before he suddenly face planted to the plate full of food, which shocking everyone but me about it. I just sighed while everyone on the spot was panicking about Ace suddenly face planted on the plate. I started stretching myself as the chaos kept going as someone said that Ace had eaten a poisonous spider called desert strawberry. This kept going as the owner nudged me and asking me what happened to him. Oh, it's okay, he's just sleeping, don't worry about him. I replied simply and took a picture of the site. He'll wake up in 3, 2, 1. And right when I said 1, he sat back up, which shocking everyone but me up. He came back to life. Ace was blinking for several times before looking around, probably wondering why there are so many people with worried faces gathering around us. Are you alright? A woman asked right beside Ace's left before he pulled the woman's skirt to brush off the foods from all over his face, which making the woman screamed and ran away while I just sweat dropped at the sight and slightly pitied the woman because of my brother's antics. Ah, damn it, I heard him muttered as he straightened back and turned back to his plate. I fell asleep, he stated before started eating again and I was laughing hard as the townspeople were shocked about it. You fell asleep? That's not possible. One of the townspeople near us exclaimed, in the middle of a meal and conversation. He continued. And he just starts chewing again, another one stated as Ace was chewing on his meal again before turning to the shocked people. Anyhow, what are you guys all worked up over? He asked in wonder, totally dumbfounded about his sudden action earlier. We were worried about you. 3 of the townspeople that the closest to us exclaimed with a hand up while Ace turned to the owner and he pointed his thumb at the 3. You hire a comedians or something? He asked innocently while the owner was still shocked about it and he started eating again. Well, no, but if you're okay, I'm glad. The owner replied as Ace started chewing again before he fell asleep, again, on his food. Oi, don't fall back asleep. I was laughing hard as I was slamming on the bar counter hard, tears started to form from the corner of my eyes. I paused for a moment before snorting and laughing hard again, kept slamming my fist on the counter. This kept going for a moment and Ace finally woke up again and he stared at me in confusion at the fact that I was laughing hard before finally calms down and he finished his meal. I guess you don't have a problem with eating in full public. A gruff voice said, which was taking all of our attentions. Oh shit, I hissed, Smokey is finally here. I continued as I wore the cloth that covering my nose and mouth back up. Now, what does the second commander of the Whitebeard Pirates want in this country? He asked. Well, Portgas D. Ace. He continued, which earning another chaos to the people in the spot as they stared at Ace in shock and disbelief. Well, Ace started as he turned around, facing the smoking marine. I was on a search for my little siblings. He finished with a smirk. So, what should I do? He asked in challenging tone. Just sit tight and let me arrest you. Smokey stated. Rejected. Ace replied, sorry, no can do. He continued. I'm looking for a different pirate, and I'm not really interested in you. Smokey said as he walked closer to us. Then let me go. Ace said. I can't do that. Then I felt Smokey was turning his right hand into smokes as he continued, as long as I'm a marine, and you're a pirate. Then suddenly I heard loud cheering from distances as I felt another really familiar presence is coming with fast speed as Ace said, what a dumb reason, shall we have some fun then? There was a silence between the two before a familiar exclaiming of, Gomu Gomu no, rocket. Was getting closer and it eventually slamming on Smokey and it kept going while Ace's eyes were bulged out at the sight and both Smokey and Ace were got repelled away by a familiar straw-hated young teen, who was now cheering as he finally found the restaurant. Awesome. Food, food, food. He exclaimed loudly while the owner was still shocked about the fact another one of my brothers was making a scene again, this time making 2 people flying away far, as I saw many walls were got hold up because of his fault. The owner quickly put plates of foods in front of Luffy and told him to quickly run away as Luffy ate his food. I sighed and stood up as I took off the cloth and hit his head upside down, which was taking his attention, and turned to me with anger before turned to happiness. "Eri," he exclaimed, "I thought I lost you. The right word is that, you got lost." I deadpanned as he started eating again. Straw Hat. I flinched at the loud yelling as a very familiar man with 2 cigars between his teeth was walking closer. And apparently, also with the demon fox. He continued as he saw me, and I stuck out my tongue at him while Luffy kept eating, not minding him at all. "So you're finally here, in Alabasta," he said as Luffy was making loud noises of him chewing the food, which pissing Smokey off. "Stop eating," he yelled as Luffy kept eating as he stared at Smokey before started to sweat a lot and blurted out the food from his mouth to the smoke man. "You're that Smokey guy. What are you doing here?" he exclaimed, which pissing Smokey off more than before. "You bastard," Smokey said. "Wait a minute," Luffy exclaimed as he took all the remaining food at the plates after I took one meat from the plate and put it into his mouth hole. "Thank you for the meal." Both Luffy and me exclaimed in sync as we bid them a thank you by bowing at the owner, and I bit on the meat before we ran out from the restaurant with a pissed off Smokey right behind us. We kept running as Smokey called the damned Tashigi and she tried to attack us with her katana, but we dodged and jumped onto the roof of the buildings around us and kept running as I felt Smokey is still chasing us right behind us. White Snake. We ran faster as the smoke with a snake form was chasing us until I felt a certain gust of wind was felt right behind us, blowing the smokes away, and I saw a familiar dark blue feather was falling down slowly from the sky, and we looked up, only seeing Takao in his griffin form on the air with a very familiar black feline on his head. "Takao. R.O. Both Luffy and me called in sync in excitement as we saw them. "Meow," I heard R.O. replied enthusiastically while Takao flew down and landed right in front of us. "Come on, Ojo-sama, Luffy Dono, hop on," he said, and we nodded before hopped on Takao's back and we started flying towards somewhere, probably where the Straw Hats are. But still we still unlucky as many marines were following us from the land and them eventually realized that the others were here also as Luffy idiotically calling Zoro's name. Takao flew faster as we get closer to the others, but Smokey was about to attack us by his smoke fist, and right before it attacked us, a really familiar flame was coming and stopping the attack, saving us in the process. "What do you want?" I heard Smokey asked as we stopped right where everyone else is and hopped off from Takao's back. "Cut it out," Ace replied as he stood up in front of Smokey with still flaming body. "You may be smoke, but I'm fire. Your powers don't stand a chance against mine," he continued. "Who is that?" the Straw Hats asked in surprise while Luffy himself looked dumbfounded about it. "Ace," he trailed off in disbelief. "You two haven't changed a bit, Luffy, Eri," Ace said as he glanced at us. "Well, we can't talk like this. You guys run, I'll catch up to you. I need to stay here and stop these guys for you," he said, and we nodded. "Go, let's go," both Luffy and me exclaimed in sync as we quickly took some of the supplies we just got to our hands and ran toward the ship. "Huh, who is that?" the Straw Hats asked as they also grabbed the supplies and ran along with us while we looked at each other and grinned widely. "He's our Ni-chan," we exclaimed in sync with happiness, which of course, making the Straw Hats stared at us in disbelief. Ni-chan. Chapter 38. Come on, hurry, I yelled as I ran with a barrel of water in my arms. "Everyone, hurry and get on the ship," Vivi exclaimed as we kept running. "Get on the ship, are we leaving the island?" Usopp asked. "No, we're going up to the river on the ship, then into the desert." Vivi replied, "We only came to Nanohana to get crucial supplies." "Hurry up, Marines are coming, get on and raise the anchor," Nami exclaimed as she got on the ship along with everyone else but Luffy, Vivi and Karu. "Hey, where's Luffy?" I asked as I just realized that my dear big baby brother isn't here. "What?" everyone exclaimed in shock. "That baka," Nami growled as she clenched her fist. "If he came back, I'll kill him." "You won't dare," I growled as I glared at her before turning my attention back to the town, not minding Vivi and Karu were talking to each other while everyone were preparing to set sail. "Everyone, set sail now," I told them. "Luffy will come later soon." "Takao, R.O. Go pick Luffy up," I told the two and they nodded before they flew away to town. "By the way, Eri," I turned as Zoro called me, "that guy back then, he really you and Luffy's brother?" He asked. "Yep," I replied with big grin. "Well, I'm not surprised that both of you got a brother, but why is he here in Grand Line?" He asked again. "He's a pirate," I replied. "He's the second commander of Whitebeard Pirates' 2nd Division." I continued. "He's handsome, right?" I asked as I giggled. "Whitebeard Pirates," the Straw Hats exclaimed in disbelief. "Yep, Ace is 5 years older than me while he's 3 years older than Luffy. So he left the island 3 years earlier than both of us." I said. "He ate Mara Mara no Mi at the time he just started his pirating life, so he's literally fire and he's hot, right?" I laughed. "Even so, Ace is really strong before he ate one. Luffy never beat him once in a spar. I beat him once and beat Luffy several times." I explained. "Not even once Luffy beat him. Against a regular human." Nami asked in disbelief. "The monster's brother must be one hell of a monster." Usopp commented. "Yep, we always got out asses kicked." I admitted and laughed before Takao landed on the deck with Aro on his head and Luffy on his back. Yo everyone, he greeted as he jumped off from Takao's back. Luffy, where's our water? Sanji-san asked as he realized that the barrel of water he brought earlier is not in his grasp anymore. Huh, Luffy replied before realized something. Oh, I accidentally spilled it all when have a spar with Ace. Sorry. He laughed as he said that, which earning a kick in the head by Sanji-san. You idiot, that's our precious water, he yelled, shark-teethed. But I bet I could beat him in a full spar now. He exclaimed and laughed as he sat down beside me on the railings. That's a groundless statement, Zoro said as he sweat dropped. He's going to kick your ass for that, I said with a smirk. And sure enough, Ace jumped and kicked Luffy's head, making him fell flat to the deck while Ace landed on the railings beside me. Just who can you beat, Luffy? He asked with his usual smirk. Ace, we called in excitement while he grinned at all of us. Yo, he replied before turning to the Straw Hats. Hey everyone, thank you for taking care of my little brother and beloved little sister. He said as he bowed at them. No kidding, they replied as they bowed back. Anyways, I'm glad I saw you too. I'm here as I heard rumors about someone defeated, Blackbeard, here, so I'd like to figure it out. He said, so I'd try to meet up with you two too. Blackbeard, I echoed as my expression changed drastically from before. That asshole, I muttered as I frowned and crossed my arms across my chest. Well, why don't stick with us? Sanji-san asked, it would be easier to find that person together with us. Well, if it's not too much of a trouble, I don't think it's a bad idea. Ace replied with a smile and lighted up Sanji-san's cancer stick. Then you'll stick with us? I asked with excited face. Imaginary small stars appeared around my face. That apparently earning a red-faced Ace before he nodded. Yes, I cheered up and ran in circle, which earning sweat drops from the Straw Hats and a laugh from Luffy. Then, why don't you come inside and we'll talk? I'll make some tea, Sanji-san asked before turning to me and Eri-kwan. I'll make your sweet stocks and a special cake for you, he said as he swooned with noodle dance, totally in love mode. That's would be great, thanks. I replied as I turned to him and grinned, not realizing a death glare from a certain brother of mine that is now on fire. Then I turned again, only seeing Ace smiling at me, totally innocent. I just shrugged and walked inside, totally missing a flaming Ace once again. Oh yeah, Eri-chan, Sanji-san called again, I actually brought you Alabastan outfit, but it seems that you already have one, he said as he started boiling some water. Really? I asked as I sat down, while everyone else is coming in along. Can I try it? I asked. Of course Eri-kwan my Melorine. He swooned as he twirled to me and miraculously, a bag appeared in his hands and offered it to me. I took it and walked out from the main room to women's quarter to try the clothes on. Apparently, it's an Alabastan dancer outfit. I stared at it with blank face before shrugged it off. Well, I'm just trying it on, not wearing it on the journey. I took off my current clothing and wore the dancer outfit before looking at myself on the mirror. It's the typical dancer outfit like Nami and Vivi's ones they wore. It has dark purple color for upper one and light violet for the long skirt. I tied my hair in ponytail before knotted and walked out the room to the main room. Yo, Minna, I said as I walked in, which earning everyone's attentions. How do I look? I asked as I grinned, not realizing a really deep red-faced Ace and he choked from his tea and now coughing hard as Luffy slapped his back to help him up. You look gorgeous, Eri-kwan. Sanji-san praised as he turned into his love mode. As expected from my Melorine love. He added, what wrong Ace? I asked in worry as I saw him coughing hard before calmed down. No, it's nothing, he replied softly, still with a little reddish face. Are you alright, Ace-san? Chopper asked, did you get a fever? No, Ace quickly replied, no, I'm perfectly fine. Don't worry about me, he added as he started sweating a bit, still with red cheeks. Are you sure? You can just tell me if you're sick, I'm the ship's doctor. Chopper said as he smiled a bit, quite relieved that Ace is not sick. But, I started as I twirled around, it shows off my back to the world. I continued as glanced at my scarred back. Besides, if I wear this, I'll get sunburn, you idiot. I deadpanned and Zoro snorted at that. Ha, you hear that, Aho cook. She definitely refused to wear that shit. Zoro spat and laughed loudly as Sanji-san is sulking because of my comment. Hey Ace, help me out, will you? I called him as I offered him my camera. He actually understood the signal and nodded as he smiled and about to take a photo of me. But, hey Eri, can I eat your sweets? I heard Luffy said and I quickly turned and about to yell at him about it, but unbeknownst to me, Ace took a picture of me while I got distracted and I ran up to Luffy to pinch his cheeks and pulled them apart as I saw him taking a handful of sweets from my plates of sweets. No one touch my sweets. I yelled as I pulled his cheeks apart with shark teeth before kicked him away to the wall hard. I growled in annoyance before protecting the plates of delicacies that Sanji-san made. It's sweets. I stated short and firm with my old accent to Luffy, who was already unconscious because of my attack just then. Okay, it's done, I heard Ace said and I turned, only seeing him grinning with the camera in hand. So fast, I exclaimed and ran up to him. Am I pretty? I asked with twinkling eyes. You're gorgeous, he said before ruffling my hair with a grin. I grinned back and took the camera to see the result. Unbeknownst to me, almost everyone is watching us with knowing looks and same thought. Ace likes her. XXX. Wear this Luffy-san, Vivi said as she offered him alabaston coats. Huh, why? It's hot, Luffy replied simply. You wear it because it's hot. The desert gets over 50 degrees Celsius. You'll get sunburned if your skin is exposed. Vivi explained. Why are your clothes so skimpy, then? He asked as he looked at Vivi's and Nami's clothes, because I already changed the dancer clothes back to the clothes I bought. We're going to wear coats too. Nami replied, which earning a certain cook to yell in disappointment, and I pinched his ear as I sighed in frustration. Stop being a pervert, Sanji-san. I told him firmly before let his ear go and turning to Ace, who was already wearing his coats and watching our activity silently. You still have that necklace with you. I pointed out as my eyes landed on the red beaded necklace I made years ago. He put a hand on the necklace before grinning at me, of course, Baka. It's a gift from you, so it's my treasure. He replied and stood up before pinched my cheek playfully. What, you thought I will lose it or broke it? He asked. Well, considering you're an idiot and his troublemaker is Luffy, yes I did. I replied with a grin, which earning a hard pinch on my cheek and I yelped and hurt. What do you mean by that, Baka Eri? He asked deviously with an evil smirk. It's the truth, Baka Ace. I replied with muffled voice as my cheeks were pinched by my beloved big brother. Now let go of my cheeks. It hurts. I complained and he did it as he laughed and I rubbed my cheeks in pity. You're still childish as always. He replied with a smirk. Shut up. I spat playfully and stuck out my tongue at him before grabbing my bag and sling it on my back as I realized we just arrived. Alrighty. Everyone ready? I asked to everyone with some supplies in their hands. Yes so. Usopp replied simply. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. I started before jumped off the ship with my bag on my back and turned around, facing everyone that's still on the ship. Alabasta has many wild and vicious animals, so be careful. I warned and laughed as I saw Usopp is cowering in fear and started making excuse about his usual, unknown disease, and both of my brothers jumped off the ship before walking near me. Then I turned around and saw a herd of kung fu dugongs near the ship at the coast. Kung fu dugongs. I pointed out and crouched down before took a picture of them, they're so cute and cool. I said and giggled. Whoa, what the hell is that? A turtle, a seal. Usopp yelled in shock as he jumped off the ship and saw a kung fu dugong that went near him. It's a kung fu dugong. I told him. Kung fu. Usopp replied in confusion. No, Usopp-san. Get away from it. Vivi quickly warned, but not quick enough as the dugong already beat his ass down. They're strong. I added as I saw Usopp is lost by the dugong. You lost. Zoro stated as he sweat dropped. Well, we have a winner over here, Nami pointed out as she pointed at Luffy that beat the dugong up. Don't beat them, either. Vivi exclaimed. It's kung fu dugong law that the loser of a fight becomes the winner's student. She continued as the kung fu dugong bowed to Luffy. They're martial artists then, Zoro said, and suddenly, almost all the kung fu dugongs were following Luffy as he did a stance of punching, or whatever it is. How did it get so many? Vivi yelled, shark-teethed. Come on, we better go. I told them and Luffy whined about it, the same goes as the dugongs. We got no time for this, Chopper, Takao, tell the dugongs to wait here and don't follow Luffy. If they still refused, give them food. I told those two, who nodded and did what I said. That eventually worked and we started walking away from the coast full of the herds of dugongs. Now, let's go to Yuba. Luffy cheered as we walked. You wasted almost all of our food. Sanji-san grumbled at Luffy. If Eri didn't tell Chopper and Takao to talk them out of it, we'd be in major trouble. Nami scolded. Yeah, they kept saying, we'll go with you, Takao pointed out. Why don't we take them along? Luffy asked. No, they'll be dead if we take them along through the deserts because of lack of water. I told him. Besides, we can't get into any towns with that many trailing along, you idiot. Nami continued. The dugongs in this country are pretty weird, Vivi-chan. They live in the river. Sanji-san asked. No, the ocean, Vivi answered. Ever since ancient times, the Sandora River has sustained this country. She explained, but lately, the river has lost the force it once had, and now it's being pushed back by the sea, downstream. Then the water those dugongs live in is, Sanji-san trailed off. Salt water, obviously. I answered as we walked through the dead and almost buried up by the sand town and I wiped off the stray sweat off my forehead. Is that why this village dried up? Zoro asked. No, they collected water on the rare occasions when it rained, and the town survived off of that, most of the time. Vivi replied, up until recently, this town was a lively place, full of green plants. This place? Sanji-san asked as I looked around the said green town, which obviously dried up and halfway buried in the sand, and I saw a skeleton in the sand. I crouched down and took it in my hands as both Luffy and Chopper also saw it, but with different expressions while the others were keep walking and we ran after them. Is that port town going to be okay? Chopper asked to Vivi. Nanohana gets its water supply from the oasis at Kateria, so they're safe. Vivi answered. Even in Alabasta, no rainfall has ever been something to worry about, for thousands of years, but there was always one place that got more rain than anywhere else. The capital, Alubarna, the city built around the king's palace. Vivi continued. People call it the king's miracle. At least, they did up until that day. She trailed off and told us about what happened, which 2 years ago, some people were pulling a cargo with big sacks before there's a small accident and the contents of the sack were poured out, revealing it as a green-colored powder called dance powder. It was dance powder, Nami exclaimed. Yes, the princess answered. Hey, you know what that is? Luffy asked. It's also known as powder that calls rain. I answered. Powder that calls rain, Luffy echoed back. It was created by some country with no rain, long ago. Nami started. The powder emits a mist-like smoke that rises up into the air. It speeds up the creation of ice particles in sub-freezing temperature clouds and causes rainfall. She explained. Basically, it's a powder that makes artificial rain. I finished. Aha, so it's a mystery powder. Luffy concluded. It makes it rain, Zoro stated. Huh, so that would make it perfect for this place, right? Usopp asked. Originally, yes. I answered as I make a cross made of dry woods and tied it by a cloth. The people who created it called it dance powder cause it made them dance with joy, but there was a large pitfall to all this. I continued. Artificial rain is the process of nurturing clouds that aren't ready to rain yet. It sucks the water out of the clouds. I explained. I see. It steals rain from clouds that would mature over neighboring countries. Usopp replied, finally understood. Yes, and it started a huge war. The loss of life was profound. Since then, the world governments have outlawed the manufacturing and possession of dance powder worldwide. I continued before looking down in dread. A powder that brings happiness and misery at the same time, I muttered. That large shipment of dance powder appeared in Nanohana. Soon afterward, an abnormal weather pattern started, and no rain fell anywhere except for where the king was. Vivi agreed in dread. It's normal to distrust the king. Zoro replied. They must have thought he was using the powder to steal all the rain. Dang, Vivi, you dad is evil, Luffy exclaimed as he pointed at her, which earning a kick in the head by Sanji-san. He was framed, you idiot. Vivi-chan's father would never do such a thing. Sanji-san exclaimed. That, of course, ignored by the princess, who kept talking about that alligator's terrible plan was already in effect and her father was suddenly surrounded by a scandal he had nothing to do with as she took the skeleton from my hands and brought it up to her forehead. It was all a trap set up by Crocodile. A rebellion arose, just as he planned. Towns dried up, people starved, and an army of furious rebels started a bloody battle with an innocent country. She said in dread, the kingdom's peace, the trust in the royal family, the rain. The towns, and even people's lives, were all stolen. And it was done by one man, Crocodile. What right does he have to do those things? She exclaimed. I will never, ever, let him get away with this. Slowly but surely, Luffy, Sanji-san and Usopp's anger started rising up as shadows crept up their faces and the three walked toward one of the ruins and destroyed it to pieces, which snapping Vivi away before they walked back into the group. Hey, what were you doing? Nami asked in confusion. Let's move forward already. Luffy replied. I'm anxious now. I just stared at them with blank face as they walked away. I approached Vivi and wiped away the bloods from her lips with a cloth and smiled at her as I took the skeleton from her hands. Don't worry, Vivi-chan, I said and put the skeleton on the sand and the cross I made earlier behind it before prayed at whoever skeleton is this to rest in peace and turned back to Vivi as I finished. We're definitely gonna kick that alligator's ass and his agent's asses down. I reassured her with a big grin before helped her up. So don't forget if we also here to help you up. I continued, still with a grin. We are Nakama, right? I pat her head softly and grinned as she stared at me and tearing up a bit before nodded and we ran toward where the others are, who were waiting for us. Don't worry, Vivi. I thought as I glanced at her, we are definitely will save you and your country. Because we are Nakama. XXX. Would you two stop going, already, Luffy, Eri. Nami yelled at us, you're just wasting energy. I'm burning, Luffy said with his tongue stuck out as he walked with a stick as a support. Can't even sweat, he added. I'm dying, I trailed off as sweats were trailing down to my chin, hard, using my bow staff as a support as I walk. This is, practically, a hell, I added and stopped for a moment for taking a breath. Want me to carry you, Eri? I heard Ace asked in concern, seem unfazed by the strong heat, as he doesn't even break a sweat. No, I'll manage for a moment, I waved it off, besides, you're too hot for my favor, especially in this strong heat. I added and continued to walk while I heard him laugh awkwardly. I can't stand the heat, but I'm fine in the cold, Chopper said as he was being pulled by Zoro on a slide. It's cause you're all fuzzy. Usopp replied as he also walked with a stick for a support. Why don't you take that costume off? Don't mess with a reindeer, you bastard. Chopper exclaimed as he turned into Heavy Point, seems furious at Usopp's comment. Gyaaa. A monster. Usopp screamed in fear. Don't get huge like that, Chopper. Or else I won't pull you. Zoro exclaimed. Zuru, I called and he groaned as an answer. I'm dying, carry me, I said and plopping down onto the slide, which earning a protest to the moss head. Get off, you baka. Go walk with you feet. He yelled. No, I replied shortly and about to drift off to sleep. Don't fell asleep you baka. He yelled, which of course ignored by me. Unbeknownst to us, a certain man with orange cowboy hat was watching us with a death glare and I could feel the place was getting hotter than before. It's getting hotter, I pointed out slowly. Am I in hell already? I muttered as I sat up slowly while Zoro obliged to pull me up on the slide while Chopper is on Takao's back, along with R.O., who was meowing happily to both Takao and Flame, who were side by side. Unfortunately, the action makes my head hurts and my eyes were spinning. I swayed a bit as my eyes were comically spinning and makes a spiral signs before fell off the slide as I blacked out, thanks to the heat stroke, which of course earning worried cries from everyone. XXX. Stupid Eri and her stubbornness. Ace cursed softly in worry as he carried his beloved little sister in a piggyback ride, which was still unconscious because of heat stroke. Well, Eri-chan is infamous by her stubbornness, so it doesn't really surprise us when she suddenly blacked out because she refused something from us. Sanji said as he laughed a bit at that, as there is one time she refused to drink a medicine when she got a cold at Barati and she blacked out because of it. Ace just stared blankly at him before continuing to walk along with everyone else. Say, Ace-san, Sanji started, I assume you like Eri-chan, right? He asked oh so openly, which almost making Ace tripped over his own feet. Wh-wah, he spluttered out as his face started to heating up in deep red, like a roasted lobster. While Sanji, who knew about the obvious like the looks Ace gives to her sister and his affections to her, smirked knowingly at the sight. It seems I'm right on the spot, isn't that right, Oni-san? He said and laughed at that. Shut up, will you? Ace replied with hushed voice but loud enough to tell the cook that he's serious, but the cook just laughed harder at that, which earning a more red-faced Ace. Now, don't worry about it, Ace-san. Sanji told the fireman, no one's gonna take her from you. He said. Ace looked kinda caught off by that before he asked, what do you mean? Sanji grinned, we all know that you were jealous to me and that Marimo earlier. He said. It's kind of obvious that even Luffy knows it, he continued. Cause he's the one that told me that you were jealous of me because I was swooning over Eri-chan back on the ship. He huffed out the smokes from his mouth after he said that. Luffy knows it, Ace exclaimed in low voice, but still loud enough to the cook to hear, who was nodding as an answer. Too bad Eri-chan is much denser than Luffy. Sanji sighed in defeat, if she's not, she's probably already realized your feelings by then. Ace didn't say anything at that before looking back to the front as he kept walking in the same pace as Sanji's, as they were talking to each other a moment ago before Ace quieted down. Why don't you tell her about your feelings already? Sanji asked. I'm sure she will try to love you back if she's not. He continued. Then again, Eri-chan will probably love you back, considering she looks so happy when she talks about you. He grinned as his minds trailed back to the time when she introduced Ace to everyone and when she stayed at Barati for a month. Don't you have a family back at your home? I do. I have 3 big brothers. The oldest is Ace. Really? What's he looks like? He's super cool. He's so strong and awesome. Well, he tried to kill me and Luffy once, but that's the past. He also has freckles across his cheeks and nose. He also. Well, she definitely likes you, despite of her still doesn't realize her feelings just yet. Sanji continued. Ace just stared at him with surprised look, as he didn't know that Eri talked about him with such enthusiasm. Water, the 2 men heard as they turned to the captain of the Straw Hat Pirates. Just enough to fill your mouth, Luffy. Nami told him. Right. Luffy replied and sipped on the water in the barrel with mouthful, well, a mouthful that a rubber man could. That's too much. Both Nami and Usopp yelled as they punched Luffy's head, which making him spat all the water out from his mouth. Give it to me. That was your 13th swallow. Usopp yelled. No wait, you just drank. It's my turn next. This time, Sanji joined in before the 3 boys were fighting with each other because of that, which quickly being scolded by Vivi because it's just wasting out their stamina. Hey Sanji, let's eat lunch. Kaikoku Bentu, time, Luffy said happily as the 3 stopped fighting. Nope, not till Vivi-chan says it's okay. Sanji replied. Vivi, let's eat. I'm starving, Luffy whined. But we're not even a quarter of the way to Yuba yet, Luffy-san. Vivi said. Geez, you're dumb. Haven't you heard this proverb? Eat when thou art hungry. The rubber teen boy said. You just made that up. Usopp replied with a backhand motion. No I didn't, I heard it from Eri. The captain replied. Then she just made that up. Usopp said, don't want to lose. I understand, why don't we take a break when we reach the next rock? Vivi suggested. Okay. Next rock, Luffy trailed off as he looked around, which only showing mountains of sands. Rook, XXX. I woke up with a cool thing was covering half up of my face, cooling me down. I brought a hand and put it on the cool thing, which revealed as a wet cloth. I sat up and grabbed the wet cloth on my hand before I looked around. It's dark already and everyone were resting for a moment while I saw Sanji-san was cooking something on the bonfire. "Oh, you finally woke up, Eri," I heard Chopper said as he walked beside me. "I was worried as you were unconscious for almost half a day, but I think you only got heat stroke but not dehydration." He continued before offered me a flask of water. "Here, you better drink before you got dehydration. You haven't drank water since you blacked out," he said, and I took the flask and drank all the water content inside. "Thank you, Chopper, you're the best doctor I ever met," I told him, and he started dancing happily despite of him denied that he's not happy even if I said it, and I giggled at the sight. "Oh, Eri-chan, you woke up already," I heard Sanji-san said as he saw me woke up already. "Dinner will be served in a moment, wait for it, okay," he said with a grin before turned back to his activity. I just nodded and started stretching out inside in content as I did so before I heard cheering from distance. I saw the three stooges were playing with each other on the sand and were laughing happily before the three animals were joined in and they played with each other. I saw Zoro was watching them in distance for a moment before he fell asleep with a snot bubble from his nose. Then I sneezed as I felt a breeze of wind was wiping me up with coldness. Damn it, I forgot about the contrast temperature of the deserts in the day and night. Stupid bipolar place. Then I felt a coat was put on me and I looked up, seeing Ace without his coat as he smiled at me. My face started to heating up as I pulled the coat so it covering my face from his visions. What the hell is wrong with me, damn it. My face felt so hot and my heart is beating fast. Am I sick? Probably. Maybe I should ask Chopper about it. "You okay, Eri?" I heard him ask as he sat down beside me, making me flinch a bit as I was lost in my thought earlier and shook my head hard. "Why yeah, kind of," I replied and tried my best to calm my heart and face down as I sighed heavily a few times. "Oh, okay," he replied as he shrugged, and there was an awkward silence until Sanji-san cuts down the silence as he told us that dinner is ready. The Straw Hats were quickly scrambling in and we ate happily in usual antics when it's meal times. Luffy, being the usual person he is, sometimes stole our food and we argued to each other, while Ace is watching us with watchful and full in interest looks as he also protecting his food from Luffy or my reaches, as both of us like to steal the foods from others fast. XXX. Everyone was already sleeping, while I'm still awake as I stared at the clear dark sky that filled with stars and bright moon. The sight is so beautiful so I couldn't resist to not to take a picture of it. Slowly but surely, I started to remember about my family and my friends back on Earth. I wonder what are they doing right now? Did they miss me, or not? But who knows? I just shrugged it off before I saw fireflies floating around near me. But as I look at it closer, it's a small greenish yellow orbs-like thingy that radiating lights and slightly warm as I brought my hand near it. But a hand quickly grabbed my wrist and I looked up, only get to face with Ace, who was smiling at me. "Now, I won't touch it if I were you, Eri," he said, and he sat down behind me, as he positioned me to sit between his legs. "I know," I replied and leaned on his abdomen, "it will blow up and burns my hands in the process." I continued and huffed. "But still, something so pretty but so dangerous like Hotarubi is awesome," I commented as I turned to look at him and grinned at him, the radiating lights from the firefly lights that surrounds us lighting us a bit. I saw his face was tinted red across his cheeks and nose, and apparently, his ears were red too before he looked sideways as he put a hand on his mouth, muttering something. "But you won't hurt me, right?" I asked, snapping his from his thoughts as he turned back to look at me, "as these are your fire, so it won't hurt me, right?" I grinned at him brightly before turning back to the firefly lights before taking a picture of it. Unbeknownst to me, Ace was trying his best to control his emotions, heartbeats and breathings after I said the trustfully words at him. Then Ace suddenly hugged me tight and I was about to protest in confusion, but "Don't," I heard him said, "just let me hug you for a while." He continued as he buried his face to my hair, unknown to me that he's blushing hard as his ears are also red. Me, being clueless as always, just nodded and let him whatever he want. "As, he won't hurt me, right? Right.